Oh, you know what I love?
Sports.
Love sports.
Sports. When
It comes to Texas A&M.
Where are you getting this information?
Let me tell you.
Welcome to TexAgs.
I need to talk a little sports with you, Ags. David Nuño here with TexAgs Radio.
Welcome back to TexAgs Stacked. I'm Billy Lucci.
Olin Buchanan.
Make a mistake. We're not going anywhere. This is going to be a great program, and we're building it into a great program.
The best way for us to win is to do it together.
Do you realize everybody knows who you are right now?
I stand by what we do and how we do it.
Schools are like, we're freaking Texas A&M, man. Like,
That's about as pretty a throw-catch combo as there is.
I saw the safety roll, the slot fade. I knew where I needed to put the ball.
You had no other option but one hand at that point.
Yeah, man, 50-50 ball, I got to come down with it.
You know, if I'm betting on anybody, it's the Aggies.
Don't mistake what I'm going to say here with like being okay with the situation, but I feel better about the situation. And there's a reason behind it, and I'm sure my partner, he may or disagree or agree. I don't know. We're about to find out. Welcome into TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. Here in the Rollo Insurance Studio Go Hour, presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations. He's Olin Buchanan. I am David Nuño. Here's why I feel better. People who know way more football than me, way more football than you, have come on this show. I'm talking about former players. Mm-hmm. And all of them have said, this is all fixable. The issues that we saw, now, it can still be not okay that it wasn't fixed for the first dress rehearsal. Don't get me wrong. But Jordan Pugh, Jamie McCoy, I think there was another. And we're going to talk to some more here today on the show. All the issues that you saw from not blocking the right guy or putting a hat on somebody to not tackling because you're out of position are all fixable. And sure, the coaching needs to improve. There's no doubt about that. But the way I think Jordan phrased it yesterday was like last year he felt like the offense was not fixable no matter what you could do. All right? Offense seems to be fixed. Got to get the running game going. I believe some kind of running game going, right? But they're putting up points and yards. The tackling has got to get better. It's got to be a will, and you got to be in a better spot. And the blocking, you're just not picking up the guy. And you've got to pick up, I forgot how he called it, pick up the opposite color. I forgot the phrase he used. But bottom line is, the fact that the players think it's fixable, former players who have been in the NFL and seen high-level football, makes me feel, all right, let's go fix it.
I think everything is fixable. I am not ready to give up on the season because of a road loss, even though I still think you lost to a team that you have more talent than. My question is, though everything being very fixable, do you have the guys that can fix it? Because, and I question that because last year I kind of heard the same thing every week, did we not? Oh, it's just one guy here, just one thing here. If we'd put our hand right here instead of right here, right? I mean, am I?
Well, last year, several of those hands are going everywhere.
Right. So, but what the point is, until I guess you can say they got it fixed in the last game. But the point I'm making is last year I kept hearing everything was fixable, but it never got fixed until the last game, right? So I believe everything is fixable. I rewatched the game. I think a lot of the tackling issues was just, you said will, and I agree, effort. You know, I hit a guy. Oh, wait, he didn't go down. No, stop throwing a shoulder at somebody or arm tackling, make a tackle. And I think the way you do that is if you throw an arm tackle, you take him out and let somebody else play.
Yeah. To me, that actually starts at practice. It's got to be the first day you're out there, and you don't want to get anybody hurt, don't get me wrong, but there's got to be a mentality when you step on the field that you are not going to allow anybody to get an inch. That's got to be the mentality.
Anaya Smith, who's one guy I will never question, the hardest working guy, never looks for an excuse, and extremely honest. How many times did he say, you got to get the right mind? You got to have, it's a mentality. It's a mental thing. It's a mental thing, And if you don't want to win, leave. So I think A&M can bounce back really strong if players like Anaya Smith take control of that team and so I'm holding my teammates accountable.
Right.
Seriously do it. I once saw I've heard the story about after the loss to Florida in 2012. It's almost legendary how Sean Porter berated the team for losing that game and I can remember watching Tyrell Dodson on a sideline just letting all of his teammates have it. You need a guy like that, and I don't even know if they have it. Maybe they do, but when it becomes personal with the team, then I think you see that team take a huge step forward. But I agree. I think everything's fixable, but are you going to fix it?
But I feel better about the fix than I just because, like, I'm gonna tell you, Jordan Pugh is very critical, right? Like he is very opinionated when it comes to the mistakes, and I didn't get that vibe. He's like, nah, we can fix this. These issues defensively we can fix.
Oh, I believe.
And how big of a fix does it need to be? Like the fundamentals of football are tackling, right? Mm-hmm. Tackling, running the ball, like. These are things that you've been doing since you were 7 years old when you started playing pop, right? So get back to the basics. I hate that 2 games in we got to get back to the mindset, and that is a flag for me. But if it is that fixable, and it is, you know what? For some reason we just didn't have it, well, you've run out of mulligans. You got to have it the rest of the way.
Yeah. And we won't know if they fix it, in my opinion. That we don't know if it has been fixed until Arkansas, because this is a gimme against ULM.
Yep.
And you should beat Auburn.
If you boat race Auburn, okay, do you not feel like okay?
No, I think if you boat race Auburn, you are thinking okay, maybe, but I don't think you know until Arkansas.
I won't feel the same way about this team, and I'm not that far. Like. I'm going to have questions for a while because of what we just saw, even if they win a couple games. But if they can split the Alabama, Tennessee, and take care of business in between, then I'm like, all right, this is more like what I expected. But because of the step back, because the cha-cha dance you just did, it's going to take a little bit longer for me to be back to all in.
I understand. And, I wouldn't, and I know you didn't, but I wouldn't concede any game because you have talent. You might have more talent than everybody on your schedule, maybe after what I saw between Texas and Alabama. But I guarantee at Alabama, they have a track record of fixing. They don't have many issues, but when they do, they have a good track record of fixing them.
But OB, we're sunshine pumping.
Look, here's you said it yesterday. If you can feel good about or optimistic, you can base it on Connor Wigman. Yep. And that the offense, which was a complete disappointment last year, got better after Connor took over, and they went out and scored 33 points. Now, did they get some help? Sure they did. But did they also leave some points on the
Absolutely.
Sure they did. And what part of being a good offense is when you get a break, capitalizing on it. So, you should be able to win when you score 33.
You might need to score 43.
And that's a problem if it is. And but I'll say this, you mentioned the running game. After rewatching I want to see more Reuben Owens.
Yeah,
a lot more Reuben Owens.
He's a stud.
They've never been hesitant about putting a freshman in there at running back and letting him play. And I think Reuben Owens would be a guy that's, if you see more of him, you'll see better running back, better running game.
I've mentioned this listener before. He sends me great breakdowns. Biglow on YouTube says, tackling is fixable, position and leverage is fixable at the coaching level, but that, again, comes down to the scheme alignment and assignment. So that might not be as easy.
Yeah, John McClain.
That's my guy.
From the Houston Chronicle.
Die Hard.
Right. And I heard him tell a story once about the Bears. Might have been that year that they had the best defense in the world. And
1985?
And But they were playing Miami on a Monday night.
They lost that game.
And they lost that game, and just for the half, they were in man coverage. Miami had a really good receiver in their man coverage, and they got beat for a long touchdown. And the way McClain told the story was, and if he told it something about the NFL, I'm taking it as gospel.
Yeah.
That Ditka grabbed Buddy Ryan on the way up and said, if you run man coverage against that guy again, I am going to kick your bleep, 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 bleep on this field. And that Buddy Ryan knew he would do it. And so they never ran coverage.
Yeah.
So there are certain things that I see that make me scratch my head about A&M defensively, and I would hope that there's some kind of similar conversation between Jimbo Fisher and DJ Durkin. Probably not, but I hope there is.
Well, hopefully we can move in that direction, if not just this week, the next few weeks as we start SEC play after this upcoming game. If you want to be a part of the conversation this morning, you can do it multiple ways. You can text us. You can call us, 979-693-1150, 979-693-1150. Let's say hi to Nick Savage behind the glass. Nick, good morning, buddy.
Howdy, good morning, y'all.
How are you?
I'm great. OB, kind of picking up on what you were saying there about, guys that, or I guess teams that take it personal. And a perfect example of that right now is Colorado. It seems like somehow every week Dion finds a way to make them think that it's personal, especially this last week with Nebraska warming up or just walking out to the midfield logo and the whole team buys in, takes it personal. So, I mean, I think you're exactly right with what you just said, and we're seeing it play out in real time.
There are things about Dion I really like. There's things about Dion I really don't like. But at the end of the day, Greg Popovich didn't seem like the nicest person in the world. I just want a freaking winner, right?
Belichick.
Don Nelson was really nice, coach of the Mavs. Love Don Nelson. He didn't win it all, right? Like you got to be a winner. I don't care if you're a great guy and I don't care if you're rude. If you win. Nick Saban's great. He seems to be a little rude with the media. Doesn't matter. They win.
Yeah, win. I think Jimbo Fisher really is a good guy.
I like Jimbo.
I like him. But you got to win. I mean, there was never a nicer guy, I think, than R.C. Slocum. And he got fired without ever having a losing season.
Yep.
So you got to win.
Mike Sherman, nice guy.
Hey, Billy Kennedy.
Really
never
nice
find
guy.
a nicer. You will never find a nicer. And he took 2 teams to the Sweet 16 in a 3-year period.
Yeah.
Got fired.
You know what? This is a year. This is the grading year. It is.
It really is.
Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. What do we got there? Kennedy Kevin? I can't see. Is that Kennedy over there?
It's me.
Hi, Kennedy.
Hi.
Oh, quiet Kennedy today.
I'm not quiet.
A little quiet.
Just busy. I'm busy.
Quieter than I've ever heard
in the
her.
morning.
Okay, let's start this over. Let's go to Kennedy Kevin there at the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Hello, Kennedy.
Hey, everyone. Is that louder? Is that better?
No, it's okay.
Okay.
That's all right.
I'm trying my hardest.
No trying. Just be you.
Okay.
Be you.
Well, this is me today.
All right. We're all in.
Yeah. Busy week in College Station. We got a lot of sports going on. We got volleyball tonight.
Bump set spike.
Those are the wrong words, but sure thing, OB.
Those aren't the right words?
It will, instead of bump set spike, volleyball players tend to gear towards a pass, set, and a hit.
Okay, well,
Boom.
In my day,
but it was
bump
bump set spike not so long ago.
Oh, okay.
But volleyball players now. Logan Lednicki, who was on our student podcast, did correct Luke Evangelist on that. So
well, that's not hard to do.
It's really not hard to do.
By
But
the way, can we all say we're all in on Jamie Morrison?
oh my goodness, yes. I'm very excited about this team. They play number 22 Houston tonight, which is top 25 matchup of the season. I'm excited to watch.
Can we
I'll be
pack
covering.
freaking Reed?
Yeah, can we please? It looked really good. I was there last Thursday. It looked really, really good. And then our other volleyball reporter, Hannah Harrison, who's on the show on Social Center too, she said it looked really good on Friday too.
Yeah, volleyball's actually a fun game to watch. You know, there's a lot of speed in volleyball and a lot of precision that I could never match. I don't think I have the coordination
People don't give it enough credit.
To jump and time a spike. I don't have that coordination. I'd have my hand in the net and the ball would hit me on top of the head.
Well, we had Jamie in studio yesterday. He said this comment. It just made me think, we got ourselves a great coach. Because they lost one game this weekend, right?
Right.
And he's like, I haven't lost in a while because even with the USAs, we didn't lose. And I'm like, this guy doesn't lose. He's a winning coach. and he's used to winning. So that was like a reminder, like, oh yeah, we are human. So that guy's great. What else we have, Kennedy?
We got women's tennis at the ROCC Fall Invitational. Women's golf is playing today. Cross country at the Texas A&M Invitational, and then volleyball is back at it again on Friday at Reed again versus Liberty at noon. And then football, of course, on Saturday.
I wonder if the Dreamweaver is going to have as big a year as they had last year.
I mean, that's what he does. He has big years,
It's
right?
been like 2 years in a row that they've been
domination,
like national championship contenders.
Yep, and women's golf too. Men's golf. We got some squads over there. Let's get some text messages in, can we, Kennedy?
Yes, we sure can. Ryan in LaPorte. Is that how you say it?
Yeah.
LaPorte?
Yeah.
Or Laporte.
Right down there around Texas City and Galveston.
Okay. I don't really know what that's not my stomping grounds, but okay.
Oh, you don't know Texas. I got you.
I do, whatever. Ryan in LaPorte said there's not a single team left on the schedule with a better quarterback and better talent across the offense. We shouldn't be looking forward and considering any split as successful. The SEC outside of Georgia is in a down year, and Jimbo has zero excuses for losing the SEC West.
Well, let me answer. The reason I think split against Tennessee and Bama is because when was the last time A&M won on the road?
Yeah, there's a road game in there.
Like they got to win a game on the road for the first time since 2021 for me to feel comfortable. A true road game.
You know, I had some questions about Tennessee coming into the year, right?
You still got questions, right?
And, well, let me ask you this. Tennessee looked explosive again, right?
Yeah.
And the first, except that
Virginia's not very good, buddy.
Yeah, they gave up, what they scored 48 against Virginia, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
But then, and that looked great, except then Virginia gave up 36 to James Madison, one dead president. So, and then last week they scored 30 against Austin Peay, one dead governor. Yeah. So I still think that that Tennessee has something to prove, but they may prove it this week against Florida, which actually, despite their struggles, were playing pretty good defense.
Yeah. We'll find out. There's some game. In fact, we're going to go over some of these games here in a minute.
This is a dog schedule this week.
Yeah.
Arf.
We got coming up next. Can you do that again?
Arf.
We got games to watch coming up. Rashad Paul's going to join us at 8:35. John Harris at 9:05. Coach G at 9:19. Oh, I'm excited about this one. Colin Padlecki from Surfaces. Are you familiar with Surfaces? Well, are you familiar with the new A&M entrance song?
Well, I mean, I've seen that.
Yeah, he's the guy who produced it. He's part of Surfaces. In fact, did his first vocal recently, but not on that one. That's all instrumental. He'll be in studio to talk about that entire process. So we'll talk to Colin from Surfaces at 9:35, Ryan Broniger at 10 o'clock, and PB, Peter Burns, who had a really good – did you see Peter Burns' tweet?
I didn't. What did he say?
Let me read it to you. This was over the weekend. Where'd it go? Here it is. It says A&M has every single thing going for them regardless, facilities, recruiting, booster support, NIL, all of it. You can't go into a near half-empty stadium and lose by double digits.
Yeah. Amen.
The change happens now. And I thought the change was going to happen in November, but the change happens now. Let's hit a break. Talk Fargos. Again, not as festive this week, but it does put us in a better place, OB.
Oh, well, there's no better place for lunch than Fargo's for me, especially on a Tuesday. But you know what? I even like going there on a Wednesday.
Do you like chopped beef and baked potato?
I love chopped beef, and I like baked potato, so you put them together, and it's like magic.
Okay, and you can do something else on a Wednesday, right?
Well, let's see. You can get some beef ribs.
You can get some beef ribs.
A big old, like the Flintstones, turns over your car kind of rib.
Brontosaurus burger.
Yeah.
Those are good, too. Thursdays, pork chops, mac and cheese. We're talking about the specials. They got barbecue all the time.
You can get good traditional barbecue, and it's amazing.
Friday, fish, corn, coleslaw, hush puppies. They call
it the 4 C's.
The 4 C's, yeah. Saturday, beef ribs.
And?
Pork ribs. Rib tips. Yeah.
Rib tips, Tuesdays and Saturdays.
Oh, so good. If you haven't had the rib tips, you're really missing out. I bet you didn't know this. They've been around this community for over 22 years.
I've heard that.
They've
been around as long as I've been around.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Wow.
So even longer.
Since the 1800s?
Well, we will talk about that off air, punk.
1701 South Texas Avenue in Bryan. Without a doubt, the best barbecue in town. That's their trademark because
it's true.
It's Fargo's. Go check them out. TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. Rollo Insurance Studio Go Hour presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations. Maroon never looks so good with Maroon You. At the Angry Elephant News and Social Center, we have a text that pops up that says, if we keep having to say changes happen now every few months, is change ever going to happen?
Good question. Yeah, good question.
My thing is, each year has its own unique challenges, right? And you can't, like, honestly, like, it's not like I thought there wouldn't be new challenge. I think some of we talked about the secondary heading into the season being a potential problem. We talked about the linebackers being a potential problem, although I don't feel like the linebackers have been an issue through 2 games.
No, I think Torian York's been a
Edges,
pleasant surprise.
Edges
Edge is playing well.
Yeah, so it's getting beat. It's individuals getting beat. That's at the root of the problem. It is individuals getting beat on the back end. Some of that could be schematics, but you got to win your battles.
It's true. But if you get beat, then make a tackle and don't make it a bigger gain than it has to be.
Very intrigued by some of the. Well, I know you said it was kind of what'd you call it?
A dog week.
But I'm intrigued by a couple of the matchups.
Yeah, I mean, there's always some games that are interesting, but I think by and large, next week's going to be an amazing week of college football. But this week's kind of the calm before the storm.
LSU at Mississippi State.
You know,
we're about to find out about Mississippi State, aren't we?
And maybe LSU.
Yeah.
Because, last time we saw LSU, they were blowing out Grambling, but that's when you're supposed to blow out Grambling if you're LSU.
Mm-hmm.
You're supposed to beat them like that. Before that, we saw them looking terrible against Florida State. Now,
what's better for A&M? It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. But Mississippi State had a 2-touchdown lead in the third quarter against Arizona and ended up having to win that game in overtime at home.
Yep.
So that was so there's all kinds of questions about Mississippi State too. So I think with that game, at least somebody answers some questions. Maybe the question we answered is which team's not very good.
Well, if LSU loses again, their chances. I mean, they can obviously still win the West, but their chances of being a college football playoff team is over. It's a wrap.
Well, that's what we learned last year with Alabama, because no team could ever be closer with 2 losses than Alabama was, because they lost both games on the road on the last play of the game.
Right.
And they couldn't get in.
Yep.
So you're absolutely right.
Yep. And Mississippi State, which I believe you were, I wasn't sold on them, and I still don't know, but I think you were higher on them. Yeah.
I picked them 4th in the West because they had so much experience coming back.
And we'll find out. Tennessee at Florida.
Gosh, it wasn't that long ago when Florida used to just dominate Tennessee. And now Florida has slipped so much. They did win last week against, some nobody. I thought they were actually a little more competitive than I anticipated against Utah, but again, Utah was playing without its starting quarterback. Tennessee's nationally ranked. Florida's struggling. But I mentioned earlier the Gators' defense is playing actually pretty well.
Yeah.
I don't know what Tennessee has defensively. And quite frankly, I'm not exactly sure what they are offensively yet. And I think that's going to be a really good matchup between the Tennessee offense and the Florida defense.
I think we're going to learn more about Tennessee than we learn about Florida, because I think Florida is who they are.
Yeah, I agree with that. We'll learn more about Tennessee, good or bad.
Right. TCU at Houston. Houston, hello. I'm not going to do the line everybody says, but they had a little bit of an issue last weekend.
Yeah.
More than a little.
I think if you like points, you might like this game. TCU had over 40 points in both of its games, and Houston scored 41 last week in a loss.
But they don't play defense there.
Right, and I don't think either team does.
Right.
So take the over and just enjoy that kind of game that's going to maybe have 80 points scored. That said, how many times do you see a game set up like that and then it turns into a defensive struggle?
Yeah.
But I'm anticipating a lot of points scored in that one.
In the next game, if Haynes King, Chase Lane, and the crew can get
Andre White,
if they can get a win over Lane Kiffin, does A&M get to claim that win? It doesn't work that way, does it?
No, but you know what? A&M could certainly enjoy it. I think no one will ever. Is anybody going to go SEC for Mississippi?
Not this game.
No, not as long as Lane Kiffin's the coach. I'd love to see Georgia Tech win that game. Ole Miss, without a doubt, favorite should be. They got a big win last week over Tulane. Tulane was without its starting quarterback. Let's see what Haynes never. All the time he's at A&M, he never got to play Ole Miss. So this will be his first action against Lane
That's
Kiffin.
right. It was Calzada, and it was
Connor.
Yeah,
and he didn't play. They didn't play Ole Miss in 2020.
BYU at Arkansas. I'm interested, OB. I'm interested.
I am too. Arkansas is 2-0, but
they haven't shown me much.
They haven't. They haven't run the ball well, which is surprising.
Rocket was hurt for a little bit, right?
Yeah,
he had a little bit.
But you'd still think with the teams they're playing, like Kent State, they scored 28 on Kent State. Whoever Kent State played before that ran up and down the field on them. So I'm not sure what Arkansas is so far. They're a little bit disappointing offensively. BYU is also, I believe, 2-0, and they struggled to beat Sam Houston 14-0. But they at least put a 0 up there. So they're playing pretty good defense. So that could be an interesting game.
Yeah. From all of those, if I were to rank them, I would go LSU, Mississippi State.
Yeah,
1.
that's the first one I'd watch.
And then it's a toss-up between Tennessee, Florida, and BYU, Arkansas for me. No, I take that back. I'm making the old switcheroo. Georgia Tech, Ole Miss is my number 2.
Okay. It was hard to find games that I thought was national interest. So a lot of games with SEC ties or Texas
or
ties
regional ties,
to be interested in.
Yeah. I really want to know about Mississippi State, and I kind of want to know about LSU. Who would you like to see win that game? I think I want Mississippi State.
Yeah,
to win.
I think we always do, right?
But I will tell you, there was a time I was thinking that's going to be a win finally. And I don't know so much at the moment, right? I thought Mississippi State is going to come here, and I'm going to, in my mind, they're going to have no problems. Those last couple of years of losing to Mississippi schools were done. And right now, it's I don't know.
Well, I would still today pick A&M over Mississippi State. I still would.
Get them at home.
And that's why. But I don't. They got to go to Ole Miss, and quite frankly, Lane Kiffin outcoaches Jimbo Fisher. He does. Or he has. So on the road.
But he hasn't outcoached Bobby Petrino.
There you go.
Offensive.
They're on the road.
Right?
Right.
On the road. Remember last year it was if we just fix the offense, this will happen. Well, if we just fix the secondary, this will happen.
I don't know if the offense is fixed, but it's certainly better than it was.
If I would have told you, though, in November, before the LSU game, all right, in November of 2022, next year you're going to put up 80 points in your first couple of games, you've been like, okay, the offense is fixed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think it's fixed. The offensive line still has to be better. Connor still has to keep improving. He started 6 games in his collegiate career, so he will. And like I said before, I want to see more Reuben Owens.
Oh, yeah. I'd like to see more Reuben. I'd like to see Le'Veon Moss back. And I liked what I saw from Amari. I really did like
until the fumble.
Yeah, until the fumble. You can't turn the ball over. You can't turn the ball over on the road. Right now, the Charge Apparel, Aggie-owned, purpose-driven apparel brand. I love their shirts. They're premier fabric, lightweight, slightly tailored fit. The fabric supplies that are used by the likes of Lululemon and other elite brands out there, they're slightly tailored through the chest and the arms, designed to make you look and feel your absolute best. They're veteran-owned and operated. They went to A&M. Tucker commissioned into the U.S. Army, and Travis commissioned into the Air Force. After separating from the military, they formed the Charge Apparel as a way to continue to serve our country through veteran nonprofits that they support, which means 12% of total sales, not just profits, are donated to veteran nonprofit partners with a focus on mental health initiative. It is an ode to the 12th man. They stand in support of our servicemen and women by donating 12% of their total sales. So make sure you go visit them. Multiple ways. Help the good guys win off the field and on the field by supporting the Charge Apparel. You can visit them at thechargeapparel.com or find them on Instagram at the Charge Apparel or Twitter, the Charge Brand. It's the Charge Apparel.
timing man. That's kind of sums up you and Elizabeth, right?
Say the line again.
A good-hearted woman loving a good timing man.
Good-hearted woman with me.
You're not a good timing man?
I'm all right. It's TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio, Go Hour, presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations. I go to the Angry Elephant Youth and Social Center. And by the way, the Angry Elephant, like your politics, love your bar, find an Angry Elephant near you in Bryan, College Station, Magnolia, San Antonio. Great place. Here's John from San Antonio. Just listen to Joel Klatt's most recent take. No objective person can deny what he is saying. I didn't hear what he said, but I saw a lot of people writing about it. Look, like even people who come across to me as anti-A&M can be right, just like people who are 100% all in on A&M can be right. I think the Petrino Jimbo thing that everybody thought was going to blow up is working.
I agree.
Now we'll know way more when SEC play starts, but I think as of right now that is working. There are a lot of people who thought it was going to blow up, and yeah, there are. I didn't hear what Joel had to say, but whatever.
Yeah, he has a history of being very anti-A&M, but right now,
okay,
if somebody's anti-A&M, I mean, how do you argue against it?
Yep. One more, Michael and Austin. This is not fixable. This is who we are. This is not one game. This is an organizational issue. Is 9-3 or 8-4 what we're paying for in year 6? No, but we're not. By the way, I'm not paying.
Well, I understand what he's saying.
Yeah. No, it's not what we signed up for. But this is where we are. So let's right the ship, if you will.
And what if they go on a run and finish 10-2? I'm not saying they will, but what if they do? Then all will be forgiven.
Yeah, but there's a lot of what ifs in there.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's go to the hotline right now. We're joined by the winningest high school quarterback in Texas, a good Aggie himself, Rashad Paul, here on TexAgs Radio. Rashad, what's up, man?
Doing good, man. How are y'all doing today?
Doing great. Sorry there was a little mix-up on the dates there. Tell me what you're doing now. You're in coaching and in teaching?
Yes, sir. I'm a wide receivers coach over at Caldwell High School. So that's what I'm doing now, man.
All right.
The Hornets, okay.
Yeah.
Well, they're going to have some good receivers, I suspect.
Wait, there's another Aggie that went there, too. Do you work with another Aggie football player?
Yep, Devin Morris.
There it is. Yeah, I was trying to put. Yeah, I knew.
Is he coaching DBs?
Yeah, he's coaching the.
Of course he is.
So let's. I kind of want to go back to when you were here at A&M and the difficulty, because the transfer portal's all changed since that time. How difficult of a time was that for you? And just when you think back about it, your time at A&M, I know you loved it. Just kind of take me through that whole journey.
Yeah, man. I mean, I absolutely loved A&M, obviously. It was kind of hard for me making that decision to, decide to transfer. But it was one of those things, I even wanted to graduate from A&M before I really kind of ever decided to actually, enter the transfer portal and kind of get everything done. I kind of had all my hours aligned and kind of everything ready to go. But it was just one of those things that was tough for me. And it was to a point where I still helped out the team, right? So after that fourth game, I decided to transfer. I still worked in on the scout team. I told Jimbo, hey, I'm still going to practice. I kind of want to help you guys get better and some things like that. So I kind of continued to practice all the way up until the Texas Bowl. But eventually, COVID actually came around during the time, where I was supposed to be going on visits and things like that. So it made it even harder, right? I couldn't visit any school before I transferred there. So I was just kind of stuck in a situation where I just kind of had to decide from afar, right? And kind of decide based upon, what some certain coaches were telling me and kind of looking at different campuses online or, talking to their players just through Twitter or calling them some different things like that. But it was definitely a tough decision. But ultimately, I think the transfer portal has kind of shaking college football up so much because guys are just going places now where they know, okay, if this doesn't work out, I'm just going to leave after 1 year or so. So I think it's definitely changed the landscape of college football, tremendously.
Well, first of all, let's commend you on that attitude, saying, hey, look, I want to save some some eligibility because I want to play, and everybody can understand that. But then to say, hey, but I still want to practice with you guys and help out. So let's commend him on that kind of team first attitude. I'm sure, Rashawn, that you probably feel like it was a great decision when in that second game of the year when you guys were beating Kansas State and you were catching a touchdown pass.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That was great. Actually, one of the memories popped up on my phone when we were celebrating in the locker room yesterday. So I kind of got reminded of that. But, yeah, it was definitely great. I'll say one thing was I kind of battled injuries once I got there. Kind of my time at A&M, I kind of didn't really have many injuries, kind of stuff going on. But actually, like before I even arrived on campus, I was working out. I pulled a muscle in my back. It was like 2 weeks before fall camp. So I say when I got there, it was probably the most I had to deal with, as far as like battling injuries wise. So I would say it was one of my toughest seasons, honestly.
Do you get to watch much Aggie football, and did you see the Miami game?
Oh yes, I absolutely. I caught the Miami game. So yeah, I was able to watch that.
I see your mood changed when I brought it up. Like you were high, we were talking about, and then that Miami game. So what's your take on what happened?
Honestly, it's a weird situation, right? You have a talented group. You have a bunch of talented players, all around the field. The offense, the receiver group is amazing. The defensive line group is, absolutely outstanding. But overall, I think everyone's just not playing together, right? And then when we talk about a team, everyone's kind of more individualized than I think we think. I think it's better, honestly, to lose earlier in the season. You kind of figure out more about yourself, and then honestly, it brings you closer. So I'm not too worried about the loss. I mean, obviously everyone's kind of reacting how they're reacting all over. But I think, those guys are going to kind of get it together. But like I said, I think this loss is just going to motivate them.
Yeah, you were a player, so maybe you just answered that. But, what do you think is the kind of conversations are like going on now among the players after a disappointing loss like that early in the season?
I think for them, at least whenever I was there, it was one of those things, and I know people were like tired of Jimbo saying, we got to go back to practice. We got to get better this week. They feel like he's saying the same old stuff. But at the end of the day, that he's true to his word, and it speaks for itself because, I mean, you have to come back after a loss, right? You watch the film, you watch the game tape, you go over what you did wrong, and then you move on once again.
You're good.
You're good.
Talking to Rashad Paul here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. Rashad, let me ask you about the wide receiver group because we see a lot of talent on there. Just your assessment of Evan, Noah, the whole gang, Moose, Anias. All right, we'll get to Rashad Paul here in a second. Nick, let me know when he's good to go. Do you remember that? I mean, because he was here in the beginning, right? And unfortunately, when he left, it's right before the 2020 season, right?
Yeah.
So,
what I remember about Rashawn is, first of all, he's a good player, and he's really good guy on punt returns. I remember a 33-yard punt return against Mississippi State, but I don't think he was fully appreciated as a punt return here. One of the problems, he has a numbers problem. They had some really good receivers. So he was making a contribution as a punt return, but I don't think it was ever fully appreciated how good he was at that because he had the misfortune of being in between Christian Kirk and Anias Smith.
Hey, so I was asking you just your thoughts on this pretty elite, I think, wide receiver crew from Moose to you got Evan Stewart, Anias Smith, Noah Thomas, Ja'Day Walker. Just your thoughts on this group.
I think it's a group at this point in time, we've kind of struggled with the past few years. But ultimately, I think it's one we can finally, lean on and say, hey, these guys are going to make the plays, right? So let's kind of get the balls in their hands. I think Noah Thomas is going to be an absolute red zone threat, right? He's a big, lengthy wide receiver. He's got some speed. I think in the red zone, he should definitely be utilized. Obviously, Evan Stewart, anywhere over the field. He's able to make plays kind of anywhere, and he's someone who can have a ton of receptions. right? 11 catches last game. I mean, absolutely outstanding. And then obviously you have Anias. The guy can make plays anywhere on the field, whether it's special teams, whether it's catching a bubble, even, using them back in the backfield some. I think for us, getting the run game kind of going will help the offense, tremendously. So.
OB, you want to close it out?
Well, we've just about covered everything A&M related. So what should we expect from those Hornets?
Man, we're getting better each week, man. I tell you, we had a close one last week where we kind of up at half, but we kind of let it slip away in the second half. But the guys are getting better. They're buying in, and we're just trying to get the winning tradition back here. So I think we can look forward to when district play comes, some good W's, and maybe getting into the playoffs. So,
Rashad, it's a great conversation, man. Let's do it again during the season, all right?
Absolutely, man. Y'all have a good rest of your day.
You too. Rashad Paul on the hotline.
Super guy.
Yeah, awesome guy. Good insight. Really appreciate his time. And another one to say these are correctable issues. So
okay, so let's
correct
them. They get corrected, right?
Let's fix it. I tell my kids all the time when they make a mistake on a test. All right, go to the tutor, figure it out, and let's not make it again. Let's move on. All right, right now, I'm not exaggerating when I say this. QC Kinetics can change your life. You can live again without that chronic joint pain. I know a lot of you are living with that pain and dreading, like, I don't want to be on drugs all the time, and I don't want surgery and yada, yada, yada. I just want to be able to jump rope, and, like OB jumps rope every morning. Like, that's what he does. QC Kinetics is advanced regenerative. Okay, I made that up.
On the ground.
Right. Regenerative medicine. They take your body's own concentrated healing properties and put them right into your joint to restore and repair that damaged joint tissue that's causing all that horrible pain out there. The patient satisfaction reports are astonishing. Finally, a real alternative to the old ways of dealing with the pain. If you have constant pain in your knees, your hip, your shoulders, or your back, you need to call and get a free consultation from the medical professionals at QC Kinetics. Imagine this fall moving around pain-free, doing the things that you love again, walking, hiking, biking, playing with the grandkids, you name it. Call QC Kinetics and see how the latest advances in precision regenerative medicine can attack your pain and bring you lasting pain relief. 979-452-6000, QC Kinetics, 979-452-6000. That's 979-452-6000. Let's go to the Angry Elephant Youth and Social Center. Our good friend Kennedy Cavan is here. Kennedy, good morning.
Good morning again.
Why are you not centered?
That's not my fault.
There we go.
There.
It ain't my fault.
That's Nick's fault.
So you would never hear Anaya Smith say that.
It's our fault. Get us a text message there from the Angry Elephant Youth and Social Center, please.
Would you like me to read the one you were a little fired up about or no?
I mean, you can read it.
Now I would think so.
I mean, dude upset me.
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, somebody from Montana, an unnamed texter.
I love Montana, by the way.
I do
The lakes are
said,
amazing.
I want to visit there.
Anyone that transfers from A&M or ATM, they said, to a lesser school is no longer an Aggie. I never liked the once an Aggie, always an Aggie. Joel Klatt dislikes A&M, because we are not a bunch of hippies.
Well, I'm going to disagree with you respectfully and say you don't get to decide who considers himself an Aggie or not. If under that thinking, if you move to Montana, you're no longer a Texan. A lesser state.
I think it depends kind of on the
Dude graduated from A&M, he said.
Yeah. So you're not, look.
He wanted to go play.
I have no issue with that. How did you serve A&M when you were here? Did you play hard? Did you do everything right?
Yeah.
So what about guys who didn't start their career, like Jay Sternberger?
He's an Aggie.
He played 1 season here. Rashad Paul played 3.
Dexter Dennis, an Aggie?
In my mind, Dexter Dennis is an Aggie.
Mine too.
He played 1 season here.
Yeah.
Rashad did everything right. Like he said, even when he knew he was going to transfer, he said, "Hey, coach, I'm going to play scout team. I'll do whatever you need. I just don't
understand why you send that text though. I got to get this off my chest. I got to let the world know that I don't think he's an Aggie.
There have been guys like say Damon Demas. Look at the way he left. Okay, so if you want to say that's he doesn't have the right to call it. That's another thing.
Do you really think 406 right here would say that to Rashad in his face?
I don't know.
I don't think he would.
I don't know. For all I know, this guy might be 6'10", 300 pounds of solid muscle.
Or 86 and frail.
But I'm just saying that I don't agree with that.
Yeah.
And,
I mean, look, I understand that people think that way.
Especially in today's athletics.
Are we okay with people who didn't go to A&M? If you didn't go to A&M, can you be an A&M fan?
Absolutely.
Can you consider yourself an Aggie even if you didn't go? Maybe not in the school sense, but in the rooting for a football team sense, absolutely.
I mean, I didn't go to A&M.
He's in the military, married a woman from Montana. Wow, I love Montana. Hey, I love Montana too. Montana's beautiful.
Yeah, I like Yellowstone.
I love Yellowstone.
It's coming back.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's coming back. I think this week, right?
No, I think it's the reruns are coming back this week.
Oh, is that what they were saying?
Yeah, there's a writer strike. The people Kevin Costner hates.
Yeah, I know there's
everybody there.
Some strife.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna have.
My grandmother lived up in Montana for a long time. Whitefish.
I flew out there and did a story on Brock Osweiler's high school career when he signed with the Texans. Ooh, what a disaster that was! But I spent a weekend in Montana, or 4 days, whatever it was. It was awesome.
Yeah. Well, I'm moving to Montana soon. Going to be a dental floss tycoon. Frank Zappa.
You know who Frank Zappa is, right?
Not a singular clue. Do I know who Frank Zappa is?
I spent way too much time in my youth listening to stupid music.
You know LaPorte.
Apparently now. Right next to Galveston, Texas.
Well, it's in the general area down that way.
General area. There's a lot in the general area over there.
Down that way.
You could say Houston is in the
Coastal.
general area.
OB, thank you, sir.
You bet.
Mr. Montana, I appreciate you listening, even if I disagree. And Rashad Paul, a good Aggie. There you go. All right, coming back on TexAgs Radio. John Harris didn't go to A&M, loves A&M. That's next. It's TexAgs Radio. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers in the Rollo Insurance Studio. Hoping to get John Harris on the program here momentarily. If we need to call him here in a minute, we can do that as well. If you want to be a part of the discussion, you can do it multiple ways. You can call us up, 979-693-1150. 979-693-1150 is the number. New Yellowstone starting this Sunday, final season. So it is legit. All right. John Harris, are you a big Yellowstone guy, or you haven't started that yet?
Haven't started yet, and it'll be a while. I just can't. I know. I've heard it's such a good show, but it's hard to get started on new series, especially at this point. But then again, when you take we got 7 more flights, I think, this year for 7 more games on the road. So, maybe I'll start the first series and see where that goes.
John, I've had some former players on the show, I think like 3 or 4 now since Monday, that have all said everything they saw from A&M, totally fixable and not to overreact. That's kind of the vibe. You're making a face. How fixable is the issues that you saw from Texas A&M, Johnny?
I don't know. What was the final score? 48-33?
Yes, sir.
Was that what it was?
Yep.
Give, a kick return for a touchdown? So, okay, that's 41. Maybe there was a short field. That's I don't know, 34. For a defense with a bunch of 5-star individuals. Hell yeah, I'm worried. Why do you go to Miami against an offense that, let's be honest, isn't setting the world on fire? And I like Tyler Van Dyke, and he's a different quarterback than he was last year. I'm convinced last year when he went to A&M, he was beat up pretty good. And then he ended up being injured for the last 3 or 4 games. He's healthy. He's got Shannon Dawson on his side now, and that helps him, former University of Houston offensive coordinator. No, man, I'm worried. Because if you got all that talent, why is it not coming together? That's a major question to me. Why is it not coming together? Now, the players are right, and I don't know, maybe I'm far enough removed from being a player. The players are right in that you can't panic. You can't panic because you didn't lose a conference game, but the conference games are coming up. And if you don't have stuff cleaned up, then you're going to have some major issues. And I'm going to tell you, I've seen it. I've seen it for, especially the last couple of years. The tackling on this team is not good at all, especially in the secondary. They want to throw shoulders into guys. They won't wrap up. They won't do things fundamentally sound. That, to me, is a worry. There was really no creativity to put any pressure on Tyler Van Dyke the other day. It was, here are 3 guys, here are 4. They would drop 7, drop 8, and Van Dyke just took whatever was available to him. And there were guys available to him for a lot of the game. There were breakdowns all over the defensive side of the ball. So, David, yeah, I'm worried. I'm very worried. Not because they can't get it cleaned up. It's the fact that it hasn't been cleaned up yet. A lot of these same issues existed last year. The same defensive coordinator and a lot of the same personnel. Why are things not different? That's bothering me. And what also bothers me is the things that I think are a problem have to do with some fundamental things that need to have been worked. Those had to be worked on back in August. It's going to be really hard to work on them now as you get ready for next opponents, and then you get to the SEC. So that's the bothersome thing to me, is that you have all of this talent, and it's not coming together to play cohesive football, especially on the defensive side of the ball. And look, the offense contributed. Offense didn't look tremendous, but that Miami defense has got some top-notch NFL players. Unfortunately, Cam Kinchins, who got hurt late in the game, was probably the best one. But they've got some dudes on the defensive side of the ball. So, okay. But you put up 33 against them. You have 5-star upon 5-star upon 5-star on the defensive side, and you gave up, 41 if you take out the kick return. So, which was a holding, by the way. Sam got held on that. It was pretty blatant, especially when they showed the overhead shot. Yep. And again, they don't call it. Guess what? The 10 other guys in that field could have made a tackle. It didn't. So, yeah, I'm worried about it. Now, can you panic? No. But in that defensive meeting room, are there some things that need to change? Yes. And in the coaches' meeting room, Jimbo Fisher putting his foot down with the defense and knowing what's going on with them, and why it's not coming together, there's something that's got to be solved absolutely immediately.
Johnny, I think why the players thought it was fixable is that tackling can be fixed. It's a mindset. It's being in the right position. Did you see more scheme issues? Did you see more individual battles not winning? Did you see everything when we're talking about the defense?
To me, it was kind of a little bit of everything. I felt like I was at the buffet. And I know players always tell you, oh, the tackling will get better. The tackling will get better. But, David, was the tackling not an issue last year?
It was.
Throughout the entire season? That, to me, is the issue, is that you've got a lot of the same guys, and there was an issue last year. You got a lot of the same guys, and tackling still an issue. And I understand that you get in camp and you don't want to bring guys to the ground and things like that. But one thing you said is most important, and that is you got to be in position to make tackles. And that means multiple players got to be in position to make tackles. And, yeah, you can't always have 3, 4, 5 guys at the ball. You can't always have that. Just based on what play is, on a bubble screen, you might not have, 10 guys there, but you can have guys running the football and you can have guys in the proper position. Now, those things that former players have talked about, yeah, you can put guys in better position. But I kind of felt like there was nothing being thrown at Tyler Van Dyke to disrupt his rhythm. Nothing. It was just, we're going to continue to force him to throw into tight spaces. And at some point, they had to realize he's hitting the tight spaces. We got to shake this up a little bit. And I'm not always blitz, blitz, blitz guy. And it doesn't have to be blitz, blitz, blitz. But it's got to be in some sense, okay, we're going to play man. Let's play one robber. Let's rob this route. He's been throwing this route. You know what? Let's play free safety in the middle. Let's play the other safety. Let's play him in a robber position, reading the eyes of the quarterback, making a play. There's got to be – it didn't feel like. Now, DJ Durkin may say, hey, look, we were doing this. We changed this up. It didn't feel like watching the game on Saturday that there was enough of that. It felt like Van Dyke had time to throw, and really whatever he wanted, he took. And once his guys got the ball in space, that's a big physical wide receiver group. But again, there still were wide receivers getting open, whether it was man, whether it was zone. I guess my frustration with it, David, is the fact that there's just too much talent to play that way on that side of the ball. Now, can you argue, well, it's overrated talent? Maybe, I guess. Yeah, you've got some inexperience at corner. You've got DeBerry the transfer. There's some moving parts in the secondary, I guess. But that front should be able to get pressure, even if you don't blitz or there's something you can do to get there. That Miami offensive line that I don't think is great really controlled the game. And I thought that was a big factor. So, and I saw it in Baltimore on Sunday with the Texans. Man, the Ravens do all kinds of looks. When you're early in the season, your offensive line isn't dialed in completely. So if you show them some different looks, they're going to screw it up. They're going to give you a pressure. And who knows what that turns into. They just didn't have enough of that on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, offensively, look, it wasn't tremendous. And Miami did a few things that, a couple of coverages they probably showed. And, Connor would like to have a throw or two back. But offensively, if you go on the road and put up 33, you should win a football game. You go on the road and put 33 up on the board, you should win a football game. Point blank, end of story. And those things are concerning. Now, can it be fixed? Some of it, yes. But if you're just a bad, undisciplined tackler, there's not a whole lot that can fix that. As Popeye said, I am what I am. And you are what you are. If you're a bad tackler, there are some things you can do to fix it, and you need to be working on those without the hitting and without the physical aspect. But some of that has to do with DJ Durkin getting his guys in better position to make those plays.
So, Johnny, we've been talking about not putting pressure on a quarterback now for 2 years or a season and some change. And I don't understand it because even some of the individual battles getting to the quarterback, we're not seeing it. Is it the kind of guys that they have recruited or the kind of guys they're putting out there? Because there's no edge. There's no speed around the edge right now. Bingo?
It's funny you say that. I was thinking that watching the game. And it's funny because it was the one thing – it's the one sea change that Nick Saban made at Alabama that took Alabama in the kind of the mid-20 – like 13, 2014, they were good, but they were just coming off of years where they had Dante Hightower and they had Upshaw off the edge. They had some dudes. Now those guys were like 260, 265. They were big. I remember you and I were at the Lombardi Awards and they were joking with each other saying Dante Hightower was like 280. And so they made a sea change. And I remember his name was Tim Williams. And that dude could fly off the edge. And all of a sudden, Alabama started getting Will Anderson and Dallas Turner, and they started getting some guys that could fly off the edge. That, I think, is something that I don't see with A&M. I don't see, look, dare I say Harold Perkins would look fantastic in this defense. That's the kind of guy that A&M needed to keep, even more so than some of the others. Look, it's great to, trenches, inside, I feel like A&M is with McKinley Jackson, Rakes, those guys. I think they're set inside, really good. I think Diggs on the outside. There's some good edge setters size-wise. I just don't think there's that guy that they can take off the edge and go burn the edge and go get that guy. Or to take a guy and kind of move him around, a la, Jadeveon Clowney, Dave, when you were in Houston, they would move Clowney around, even though Clowney wasn't, the twitch. He's more powerful than he was twitchy, but he had some, he was pretty quick with his first step. And so he could create a mismatch against guards and even tackles, but I don't see that. I don't see a guy where you go, okay, let's rush 4, no stunt, no twist, play whatever coverage behind it. And one guy's just going to make all kinds of issues off the edge. I feel like that's been lacking. And as I was watching the game, we were actually in Baltimore at dinner watching the game. And I was, talking to Andre Ware, and we're talking about it. That was one of the things I said to him was they're just slow off the edge. Like there's nothing there. So I don't know if that guy exists in the program. I don't know if that's something they have to go out and get, but I see a lot of teams that get pressure on the quarterback, and there are 3 guys that do nothing. But, man, there's this one guy. Wake Forest is a great example of that. They got a guy off the edge, Jasheen Davis. Now I'm watching Wake Forest, and their front can't get anything. But then 30 comes in the game, and I'm like, whoa. And it's just pure speed. And it's like, man, I feel like every defense has got to have one of those kind of guys. It doesn't have to be on the field for 70 plays or whatever it is. But on pass rush situations, you got to have a guy that can at least go mess things up in the backfield a little bit with just pure burst and speed to the ball. Think about Vaughn in 2010. Think back to that A&M defense. And Vaughn is special, but look, you got a bunch of 5-stars. There should be a special dude amongst that group that can be in the Vaughn category that can just go hunt, right? I don't see that. So when you put all of those pieces together, that explains why I'm a little bit confused. Like, I'm watching all these talented dudes give 41 points. Some doesn't jive. Now, I can't sit here and I won't sit here and tell you, oh, it's all Durkin, or it's all not having players, or it's all scheme, or it's all they got bad tacklers. But there's a combination of all that. I don't know the exact ingredients for the bouillabaisse, but I know there's a lot in the bouillabaisse, David.
John Harris Brothers breaking it down, Texans sideline reporter, footballtakeover.com. Johnny, I want to do a Texans thing in a moment, but let's close at least. There's optimism on the offensive side of the ball. I thought Bobby Petrino made some really nice adjustments. They're still not blocking well, but Connor really, to me, grew in that game because it was the first time he had really faced serious adversity, and he was getting hit left and right. Yet they adjusted, and they made the offense work in the second half.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, I think, one of the things about Bobby Petrino that I've always loved is his game preparation is fantastic, but making adjustments when he needs to. Knowing, okay, we wanted to do this. That in there, they're taking that away. So, okay, how do we adjust? How do we adapt? I felt like offensively, yeah, that was one of the major keys. But again, winning in the trenches. And look, Miami's got some dudes. Don't get it twisted. Miami's got dudes up front on the defensive side of the ball. Leonard Taylor's going to be a first rounder. Mesidor went out of the game, but he's got an opportunity to be a day 2 guy in the NFL as well. So they got some dudes on that side of the ball, and they adjusted. You're right. You said it exactly. You stole the words right out of my mouth, David. I felt coming out of that game I felt even better about Wigman than I did after the New Mexico game, because I felt like that's the adversity he needed to see. He needed to get he needed to have some adverse moments and see how he's going to react. Well, I think after that, I felt like, I was like, okay, A&M's got their guy. Not like there was any question about it, but A&M's got their guy for sure. And you can ride behind that guy. Now, everybody else has got to step up and help a little bit. So protection's got to be a little bit better. They got to run the ball a little bit better. Those things have got to start to happen to take some pressure off of him, because he can't start feeling like, look, I'm in this boat all alone. Now, we know the receiving talent. There's no question about that. The first pick, I think it was the first pick he threw, Anais is open. He slips. And the ball hits Kitchens right in the stomach, because, Wigman's throwing to a spot, he's doing what he's supposed to. That interception isn't on him. Second one definitely was. But I felt like the way that he responded was exactly what you want to see from a top-notch quarterback. I felt even more so, lock it in. Wigman's the guy. No doubt. I don't have any doubt after that game against Miami. It wasn't because they put up 33 or whatever. It's just how he responded. You put it perfectly, David. It's the exact thought I had as I was watching that second half.
Johnny, let's talk about the Texans. Look, the game was close. There were chances there. Just your overall thoughts on the way CJ handled it, D'Amico, the defense, all that.
Yeah, I think defensively, I went back and watched the game again, all 22. So I got like 4 different angles of every play, and so I'm going through watching. I'm like, well, the defense has got some juice, man. There's something there that definitely wasn't there the last 3 years. Offensively, there's some things that. You got a rookie center, you got a rookie quarterback, you got a rookie offensive coordinator, and you're going against that defense that's got all kinds of experience, and they've all played together, and they're in the same scheme, and it's week 1, it's in their place. So there were some loud moments, in that game for the offense. Like, yeah, okay, yes, this is okay. TJ is that guy. He's going to be fine. But Damian Pierce ran for, 11 times for, 40-something yards. Like, that ain't going to cut it. You're not going to beat good teams. You're going to beat many teams in the NFL if you don't run the ball. College, you can do certain things to run the ball. NFL, sometimes you don't get away with that because the spacing on the field, the hash marks, all that kind of stuff. You got to physically run the ball. So you got to knock some people off the ball a little bit. And you got to know exactly who to block and where. Sounds simple, right? But a lot of defenses change things up, and the Ravens changed a lot of things up during that game. And I don't know that we adjusted to that very well, but I feel okay about what this team can be. But if there is a massive game amongst massive games, it's this one against the Colts, division opponent in our building. First game, D'Amico in a regular season here. First time these fans get to see CJ Stroud for a full game. This is, I don't want to put the words must win, but there's more pressure this week than at any time since D'Amico stepped in to be the head coach. And he's going to coach here a long time. There's no doubt in my mind about that. But this is a really important game to grab the fans all the way in, get a W before you go off to Jacksonville week 3. You don't want to go to Jacksonville 0-2. So there were some really promising things. And then some things that were kind of like the A&M game, kind of head scratchers, but at least in our game, I kind of understand it with some, bunch of rookies, doing things for the first time. That's what I don't understand about A&M's defense. There are a bunch of rookies over there, So that's kind of the disconnect I have kind of with both. I feel like our guys, the more they play, the better they'll get, the more cohesive they'll get. I want to see A&M's defense do that same thing, but it should already be there. They just got to get it back there, I would suppose.
Johnny, I lied. I want to just follow up because you said something there about blocking the right guy, and we got to hit a break because Coach G's already here. But let me ask you about A&M blocking the right guy, because there was a little bit of that as well. Not blocking the right guy, I should say. I
think early on in the season, David, it's very common. I don't think it's uncommon because you're facing a team that, look, you faced them last year, but they're going to have different wrinkles for you. And so how you adapt to that, to me, is the most important thing, especially early in the season. How you adapt to that is the most important thing, because you're gonna blow an assignment early in the year because you just don't know exactly what they're going to do. They're going to throw something at you. You got to rely on your rules as best you possibly can, especially up front. You got to rely on your rules to the extent that you can, and then go to the sideline and say, okay, they showed us this. We're going to adjust this rule. We're going to adjust this. They showed us this over front. We're going to adjust this. They went back under on this set. We're going to adjust. And that's just what you have to do. I mean, that's coaching. And I feel like the old line did adapt a little bit, but you're going to see different stuff at the beginning of the year. And I don't think that's a big issue. And sorry to Coach G. I know I don't want to steal your time, so I got to jump off, Coach, and hope you have a good time, David. Thank you very much.
John Harris, footballtakeover.com. Go check it out. Thank you, Johnny. Talk to you soon, bud. Later. John Harris there. All right, let's hit a break here. Right now, Caldwell Country Chevrolet, Highway 21 in Caldwell, online at caldwellcountrychevrolet.com. So having a little issue with the vehicle, nothing major, just got to get it fixed there. And I called Dylan over there at Caldwell Country. He's like, dude, we'll take care of you. We'll set up an appointment. We'll come take care of you. We got complimentary pickup for our service customers. We got you, David. That's how easy it was. I just called him up, boom, and shellac, right? Like, he didn't know I did this show. Like, he was just like, yes, sir, I got you. So thank you to Dylan over there at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Over a year ago, I had been talking about Caldwell because all my friends buy their vehicles at Caldwell, from Billy to Bronny, a lot of us, right? And so I knew the value in it. Gabe bought vehicles from there as well. And I legit bought one last summer, and it's been a great experience. I have to have something, looked at quickly. They set it up. Boom. I'm getting it looked at this weekend, and I will be fine, and it'll be just great. And that's what they do there at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Great trade-in values, great people, great customer service, and, of course, you get a great vehicle. 15-minute drive, Braun and Caldwell, short conversation away, but you'll see the difference when you step on the lot and do business with the good people there at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Highway 21 in Caldwell, online, caldwellcountrychevrolet.com. All right, I'm excited to talk with Coach G this week. We've got some offense going. 12 goals the last couple of games. Aggie soccer winning back-to-back games. Coach G is here in studio on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. How you feeling?
Feeling pretty good. We're getting ready to start the SEC portion of the season, which is exciting. Really, the first SEC games of the sports calendar starts on Friday night when Kentucky comes down. Kentucky's the hottest team in the SEC right now. They've got around a 900 winning clip for the year. So I prefer that they're not quite that hot, but they are. And so big match, 7 o'clock over at Ellis Field. Yeah, well, things are looking better. Let's talk about it. Since the loss to TCU, which was just at the moment so disheartening, you all have turned it on. And you told me at the break, early goals are kind of contributing to the mindset. Yeah, well, it's, like we talked about before, with the exception of about, 15 to 17 minutes, we'd be undefeated this year. That's cumulative over the entire season. That we've played really well. We just weren't finishing a lot of our chances. We'd outshot every team that we had played all year long, with the exception of the first game against Florida State, where we got outshot 11-10, and the last shot of the game was what beat us. And so, focusing on the first 5 minutes and the last 5 minutes of a match can be disheartening to the opponent. So, the last two matches we've been able to score in the 2 minutes into the game, which can be a real dagger to those teams. So, in both the match last Thursday, we scored 2 minutes in, and then in the match on Sunday down at Rice, I think we scored. Mekhi McDowell scored in the third minute, and then we scored again with 2 minutes to go in the first half from Kate Colvin. Kate Colvin's been a big boost to us. She hadn't played all season up until Thursday, got a goal in her first match back, and then she scores again on Sunday. So that's a boost to our attack for sure. But 6 goals averaging over the last 2 games is exactly what the doctor ordered for us. And now it's a big step up for us for going into SEC play this week, but just that boost in confidence, knowing that, we've been able to outpossess our teams, we've been able to outshoot our opponents, but we've been focusing quite a bit on the movement in the box. We've been focusing quite a bit on our box organization, the other team's penalty box, and being able to finish those chances and being more tenacious in finishing those chances has been the payoff has come, and our forwards have been the ones finishing it. And a lot of our goals really are coming from the players who are coming off the bench. After we kind of fatigue our opponent a little bit, the players who are coming in. Jasmine Wilkinson has 3 goals in the last 2 games, so it's neat to see, and you can see the bounce in the player's step as we've been in training the last week as well. Learning to win is a thing, right? Like when you're the better team. You get up to a lead, you don't have to fight through. This team has been positioned to win all these games, and now you're kind of learning how to win, and we'll see how that applies when SEC play comes. Correct. And like I said, though, we're playing in the SEC. SEC has, basically by this week has the highest winning percentage of all the leagues around in Division I soccer. So you're playing against a league of champions, a league of winners, and it's going to make for some very entertaining matches especially as we play our home schedule, because we're playing all the best teams in the best league here at Ellis Field. So we're going to have to be completely up to snuff. And we've learned some hard lessons. We've learned some hard lessons in defending, but we've also learned some hard lessons in the decision making that we have to make in our build up to give ourselves better opportunities, higher percentage opportunities to finish off those chances as we try to finish our scoring chances. You mentioned Kate Colvin earlier. 2 games, 2 goals. Just getting her back has been big. It has. I mean, she's tenacious. She's very, very physical in the way that she plays, and she's she gives nothing less than the full cup of energy. She's 100% effort as she goes, and combine that, like I said, with Jazzy up front. Jazz is someone who uses her body really well. She's very, very intelligent in the way that she plays, and the way that she can move and get around opponents and play with other people around her, sets up other people. So it's really it's coming together. It's really fun to see. You told us a lot about Kentucky being as good as they've been this year. What does a win against them do? Because, again, you've played with that level of team all season long. Well, it puts us in first place. Number one is what we're looking for, and there's some great games around the league. Nationally ranked opponents. Going head to head within the SEC. But for us, it's to sound cliche, it is one game at a time. It's a big one. There's a lot of promotions going on around this game, with it being an Aggie football weekend as well, and also with volleyball playing on Friday at noon. Whenever we have other games going on, you can use those other tickets to get into A&M soccer games for free. So if you have a ticket to the ULM game, just show that ticket at Ellis Field and you get in for free. If you go to the volleyball match at noon on Friday, show that ticket, you get into Ellis Field for free. They're doing $5 Lone Stars at beer at the game on Friday night. So a cheap date for you to come, and you can start your evening at Ellis Field. Come to the game, then go to midnight yell practice afterwards, and kind of kicks off your weekend. Then we play again at home on Sunday against Texas Southern, and that is doing a promotion. It's the start of Oktoberfest, which of course for us will be Socktoberfest, and that'll be more beer and brats. We'll be cooking up and serving at the venue. So if you're in the 12th Man Rewards program, I think the first 100 people in the venue that sign up with that check in with the 12th Man Rewards app, you get an Aggie Soccer pint mug for the game. And again, there's beer and brats going on over there. So
and Cavalry night too, right?
And it's Cavalry Soccer night as well. I think there'll be plenty of polka music going on and all kinds of festive things. And it'll be another night to come and see this team in action. So 2 games this weekend is fun for us to get out there, back out on the field. And again, the team is playing well. It's been a really good week of training. Yesterday was great. I don't know if you were outside much yesterday, but it's funny, as we were training, we're like, gosh, it feels good. It feels really, really good out here. And I look at my Apple Watch where I've got time. I've got obviously time. I've got temperature and wind speed. I look at my watch. It's still 96 degrees. I was like, it's funny when you look at the temperature and it's 96 and it feels cool outside. But it did. There's a little bit of cloud cover, and so yesterday was great. Again, we're really focused on this team. The Kentucky team has got a really sophisticated, one of their all-time leading scorers up front, and a girl named Jordan Rhodes, really dangerous player that we have to be able to deal with. That will be a really good, really tough matchup for our defense. And they've only given up 2 goals all season. They have their team they've been rebuilding for the last 2 years. The coach came in, he's in his 2nd year there. He's done a really good job of kind of done the Dion thing there. It's got, of their last game when they went and beat Iowa State on the road, 6 of his 11 starters are transfers. Right. And so they've really kind of done a lot of this. Their goalkeepers are transferred from North Carolina, and she's really been tough to score against. So it's going to be a challenge for us. Scoring has been one of the things that we've been focused on, and we're going to have to do the very best we can, be really precise in the way that we play to beat this kid. But again, playing at home in front of the 12th man, and we really need that 12th man to come out and take advantage of that $5 beer special.
Coach G, I appreciate you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, go support Aggie Soccer this weekend. When we come back, Colin Padlecki from Surfaces in studio next on TexAgs. Welcome back in TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers here in the Rollo Insurance Studio. All right, we've got Colin Padalecki here in studio. I practiced. I got it right?
There you go. Yeah.
From Surfaces. Produced a new Aggie football walkout song and graduated from A&M, ran track here, loves the area. Thanks for coming in, man.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
So you look like a rock star. I mean, do people tell you that?
Not really, man.
Yeah.
I still live in San Antonio, so I don't really divulge in all the rock star stuff. But yeah.
Well, let's start off with the song, how it all came together, and kind of work our way through your career.
Yeah.
Is this like how did it get started? How did the conversations begin?
Yeah. So some of the coaching staff, athletics department asked me to come speak a couple months ago on like NIL and what I would have done. Running track, but I wasn't able to talk about my music while I was running track because NIL wasn't a thing yet. So they asked me to be a guest speaker here a couple of months ago.
Is that when Coach Henry came in the studio?
Yeah. And I hadn't seen Coach Pat in such a long time, so it was nice seeing him. But yeah, and then I think ensuing a few weeks later, they had hit me up saying like, hey, we're looking to do an original song for the walkout. Would you be interested in trying to make it? And I was like, wow, that's crazy. I'll definitely give it, my best shot and give you a few options. So.
All right, and then was it 1, 2, 3, 4 songs? Like how did the one that we got? How did we get that one?
Yeah, so I just asked them to Zoom, and then I asked them, what BPM are y'all looking for? Like, do y'all like the pacing of it? Do y'all like the chant aspect? They're like, we love the chanting. We want something similar BPM, because it felt pretty comfortable with the crowd. So I was like, okay, cool. Like, give me a week. I'll give you like 5 options. I think I ended up making 4 or 5 the next couple of days, and then I Zoomed them again. And I was like, here's what I've made. Kind of played through them, and they were like, yeah, we like this. We don't like that. We like this. And then kind of landed on one that we both thought would work. And then obviously I made a few more tweaks to that one, and then that became the song. So
how you've got such a successful career going. How exhilarating was it to like my alma mater, the place that I ran track, that I get to do the song that the football team, the whole stadium, 100,000 plus are jamming out.
It was sick to be a part of something bigger than myself and my musical aspirations. Like to reconnect with the university that I ran track at, to the place I graduated from, to link back up and, do something together and make it bigger about anyone else, and have Kyle Field involved and kind of give a home field advantage seemed like a sweet opportunity.
Yeah.
So it was sick. Yeah.
So unfortunately, I was in the press box when it was debuted, and I'm like, you can't really feel it. Everybody in the stadium, though, it was received very well. How did you feel it was received?
So it was funny. I had to fly out that morning to go play a festival in El Paso for Surfaces, so I missed out. But I was literally in our green room trailer behind stage, with the ESPN stream going, just eyes on the screen, just making sure everything went okay. And it seemed like everyone liked it for the most part.
Fantastic. Let's kind of go through your musical background. How did this happen? How did not only Surfaces, but just your growth through the career?
Yeah, I started Surfaces in high school. Me and my cousin Alexa, I would write songs for her because she was the only person I knew that could sing. And I started writing songs when I was 15. And then kind of kept up with it in college. It kind of slowed down in college because I was running track.
Right.
But then, I ended up leaving track 3 years in just to really chase the musical aspirations, because it was something that I knew that I had in my heart, and I needed to chase it, and I needed to know where it led. So, I just kept on chasing it in college, and then I eventually met the counterpart, Forrest Frank, who was going to Baylor at the time. Mm-hmm. He found me on SoundCloud, so he would start driving into that place on Montclair, that little blue house that's literally like a stone's throw from this building. And he would drive in, and we would just hang out and show each other stuff we thought was cool. And then eventually he took a job in Seattle a year later, and I would still send him songs that me and my cousin were recording. And eventually he was like, yo, do you just want to come fly out to my houseboat in Seattle and we'll try to record stuff? I was like, sure. Ended up recording half of our first album there. And then ended up recording the following albums mostly in that Montclair house, right in Historic District. Yeah, we recorded Sunday Best in my bedroom closet. Forrest would just put aside my clothes in my closet, stick a mic in there, and
it's pretty incredible,
pretty crazy.
Man.
Yeah.
What about your teammates? Did they know about the music? I mean, how surprised were they when it blew up?
Two of my like really good friends on the track team, Garrett Cragen and Ben Zook, the decathlete and the high jumper, they were like always supporting me. Like I had a little EP release party like my sophomore year over at U Club Townhomes, and like all my track teammates came over. Obviously, like the music was kind of small per se. But like all my teammates were always super supportive, and like, you know, those two guys always helped me like make decisions of like, yeah, man, if you got music in your heart, you need to chase it, you know, no matter, you know, what it costs. And, you know, those guys like that kind of helped me.
Did Coach Henry know?
No, they had no idea. No. Like, I wasn't allowed to talk about it. And then like, it was funny because all the coaches like would like consider me like, you know, oh, there's like sleepy Padalecki, because I always looked like I was tired, but it was because I was like DJing at Northgate Tuesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays from like 11 to 2 a.m. just trying to make a quick buck. And because, you know, the main music really wasn't making any money yet. So like DJing seemed like a good thing to do for like the 3 years that I could. So.
Yeah. Have you had one of these moments where like, oh my gosh, I'm hanging out with so-and-so, or I'm in the backstage and there's, you know, like, have you had any of those kind of moments?
Oh yeah, dude. I mean, working with Elton John and making a song with him and him putting that song on his album was just like a dream come true. Right? It felt like winning a Grammy to me. And like, I've met so many other, like I met Jack Johnson, who's like my songwriting hero. And, you know, he told me that, you know, his kids play our music in their house in Hawaii all the time, and I'm like, you don't have to say that, man. Like, you're so nice. But like all these guys who are like these huge musical heroes to me, they're all so down to earth, and it's like amazing to meet with them and talk with them and work with them. Like, it's been a dream come true. Like, I'm grateful for it every day.
Have you become better because of like seeing the way they go about their work? Have you learned new things about yourself doing it?
Absolutely. I mean, seeing Elton John conduct himself in such a manner that's just like, you know, he's so reserved and polite, and, you know, he doesn't have that ego to him, even though he could have all the ego in the world, being one of the most successful artists of all time. And it just taught me to like always remember where I'm from, always be humble, always treat people with respect, and just, you know, live life like, yeah, you get to do music for a living, but that doesn't mean it has to change who you are.
Where was your first show?
My first show was in Curious Collections in off Texas Avenue.
Okay.
In College Station. We played it for free. It was like a little acoustic EP thing, and I was like, oh, we'll see who showed up. And I think like 50 people showed up, a bunch of track teammates, a bunch of, you know, College Station kids who just wanted to see. And then our second show, the athletics department asked us to play the fan zone here in College Station, right in front of Kyle Field, for that one football game that I think it was LSU, and it went into like 7 OTs.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, that was like our first time, and I think we had played Sunday Best and all those second album songs before they even came out. It was like on that stage. Oh, wow. So it was like crazy full circle moment with like the intro thing. You know?
And then what do you think has been your biggest show? Like,
man. Lollapalooza was insane. I love playing festivals. We played that. We played Austin City Limits, which like I've been dreaming of playing since I was 15, and we got to play main stage at like 4 o'clock, which like we probably had like 50 or 60,000 people, and I was just like, I was in heaven, man. I was like just so grateful to be there.
Am I right? You just released a song recently, right? There's a new song that's been released.
Yeah. We just put out Cloud last Friday, and it was received pretty well. It's doing pretty well, and yeah.
And you're singing it, right?
Yeah, I sing it. So.
First time you?
First time, yeah. I've been writing songs for like 11 years, but this is the first time that my vocals are out there, and it feels pretty cool.
So was your vision singing? Was it producing? What was like? Your love for music is just being in the industry, right?
Yeah, I mean, I never had any type of lessons growing up. I didn't have piano lessons. I didn't have choir lessons. I didn't have anything. I didn't have any theory lessons. No one in my family does music at all. And I don't know, when I was 15, I couldn't stop writing words to the page. Like it was just my way of expressing myself. And it was just one of those things that never got old, and it always drove me to like want more. And I just wanted to be a good songwriter. Like, I wanted to write feel-good songs that you could like relax on the beach to, or just like hang out with your friends to, and like be under the sun. And you know, eventually that bled into producing. Eventually that, you know, bled into, you know, vocals. But I don't know. I've always tried to keep it a natural process and never force anything.
So I'm old, so I don't love social media. But what I'd love,
same.
You're the same way.
Yeah, dude. I'm not a social media guy.
But it's a necessary
Oh, you have to, especially as a musician, you have to. But I don't know.
But I'm listening to your story, and I listened to Zach Bryan recently on Joe Rogan, who also had a similar kind of like.
He's great.
SoundCloud, people heard it.
Yeah. That was like our social media back then.
Yeah, and I'm just like, it's just amazing that in today's world, like people like you who have these visions, who weren't naturally trained, can still find a path, and you've done it, man. That's cool.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah, Aggie football. I mean. You die hard, watch the games.
Yeah, dude, I've been coming to the stadium with my pops since I was like, I could even remember. Like, my earliest memories of football games are Kyle Field back when the fourth wall wasn't up. And, you know, like Jaworski Lane, just, running around my backyard with a little Nerf football, just pretending like I'm trucking everyone.
Right.
Like that's the
Are you going to any games this year that you play?
Yeah. I'm trying to go to this Saturday.
Okay.
Because I literally haven't heard the intro live yet through the speakers.
When you say try, has nobody given you tickets yet? Is that what I'm?
No, not that. It's just like I had to play that festival first game, and I was like, man, I can't believe I made the song, and I'm not even going to be here for the first home game. Like, it sucks, but
Well, I mean, especially after talking to you, I want to walk out of the press box and feel it because, like, it's it was so well received, man. And just any thoughts on the team getting it fixed?
Yeah, I mean, like, I wanted to make a song that would make those guys want to run through a wall because, like, obviously I ran track, and track and football are very different. But I think I have a good, idea of, like, what gets me hyped up just as an athlete. And, I played high school football, obviously not even close to the level that these guys are playing at. But I know what gets me hyped up and what might get them hyped up. Just added some hip-hop elements to it, added some guitar that builds up a little tension and kind of builds up to a crescendo, and then have like a beat switch that's very popular with contemporary hip-hop right now. Like beat switches are all over, like the big guys' albums. So it's just like something I thought would work. And,
so will you kind of, for our audience, because we got wide range, young people, real old people, me, explain what your music is. It's kind of like a conglomeration. You've got some soul, some hip hop, everything, right?
It kind of just is like a big melting pot of everything. Cause like I don't know. People always ask me that, like, what genre of music do you make? And I'm like, I don't know. Like you
just make music.
I just make music. Yeah. Like I listen to everything. Like I was born and raised on classic rock. I obviously love hip hop. I love Bob Marley, I love Jack Johnson, I love Stevie Wonder. Like it's just one big melting pot of like it all just kind of came together in the songs that I make with Forrest, and I don't know, it just kind of is what it is. I don't know how to describe it. I guess feel good music is something that usually comes to mind, like as in like an easy word to say, like feel good music. It's like, oh, okay, feel good music.
I think feel good
whatever
music.
that means.
Is Forrest, even though he's a Baylor guy, is he like pumped about the
No, yeah, he was very excited for me. Yeah. But yeah, it was just cool. Like he obviously loves Baylor. I love A&M, and two guys that came together to make a group. So.
Well, Giga, man, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you so much for having me, man.
And if I see you at the game on Saturday, let's take a picture, all right?
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Colin here from Services. Thanks very much. We'll hit a break. We'll come back with some text messages and more. It's TexAgs. All right, we're back. TexAgs Radio. Colin's still here actually because I feel like I should have not led with this, but ended with this. You're on TexAgs. You've been a TexAgger for a while, right?
Yeah. My older cousin, who also went here, he told me like some stuff was being said on here. I was like, oh, that's interesting. I guess I'll check it out. And then I just got lost in the wormhole, man.
Was this a while back? When was this?
Yeah. That was probably like February, March-ish.
Okay. Yeah.
Maybe later than that, April. I don't know.
So do you you find yourself like just kind of reading all the stuff?
Yeah, it's an interesting atmosphere, man, because I feel like some people are like pretty positive on there and some just like yelling at clouds.
Yeah.
You know, it's like an interesting dichotomy of like they all, I think, deep down like really love and support the university. That's why they're so critical of everything. But then sometimes it's just like, man, like, why are you so angry? like what? You go outside, drink some water, man. Why are you so angry all the time?
Well, I've had a lot of people. We got about 40 seconds left in the segment. I had about a bunch of people text me like, Colin's on TexAgs, like, and I think your name's. You don't have to say your name, but like it's out there. Like people like have put two and two together.
Yeah, I like made the mistake of like first posting with my like actual name. Then I was like, oh, this probably won't be like the best. I'm not like I stand by everything I've said on there. Like I haven't done anything crazy. I was just like I'm more of like questioning people, of like questioning like, yo, why are you so angry?
I've done it.
Yeah, of course.
Done it.
It's hard not to, man. But it's funny because like when we kind of broke into the like pop culture atmosphere with like the big songs or whatever, you know, as a musician, you kind of sign up for that. It comes with the territory. So it's like I really haven't divulged in the comments because you can't go with the good ones or the bad ones. You got to just stay level, and you can't just believe what they say. But like,
thank you so much for coming in, brother.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Appreciate
We'll do it again, right?
Yeah.
All right. We'll come back with Recruiting Country.
Yeah.
All right, we're back. TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Time for Recruiting Country, presented by Caprock Health System, a faster patient-centered revolution in care with 2 ERs in the Bryan College Station area. The original 24-hour ER in South College Station on William D. Fitch, and the full-service hospital with ER in Bryan on Briarcrest. Online at caprockhealthsystem.com. If you got questions for Ryan Broninger, who is here in studio, send those in on the text line, 979-693-1150. Ronnie, how are you, buddy?
I'm riding a good coffee buzz this morning.
You're not, or you are?
I am.
Okay, good.
I am. Good black coffee. I'm doing that. If you drink it within 90 minutes of waking up.
After you wake up. 90 minutes after.
No, but yeah, that's what I'm trying to say is like if you drink, you need to wait 90 minutes before you drink your coffee every morning because you're adenosine. You want your adenosine to run out before.
Correct.
Because the caffeine will bind to those adenosine receptors, and that's what that helps you fight off. I listen to Andrew Huberman.
Who's the best. Andrew Huberman's the best. I've done it.
I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm just trying to repeat what he said. He goes too fast for me sometimes.
He is. The Huberman podcast is the best if you're talking about longevity in life and whatnot. I've tried it. It just doesn't work for me having a morning show to wait 90 minutes for the coffee.
Mm-hmm.
But, when I do my training at BVMMA, maybe it would because that does wake me up. That's like my latte in the morning.
Sure, and I would bet, it gets your metabolism going. But I've also been trying, as soon as I wake up, get out of bed, go straight outside, get sun in my eyes.
Yep.
Trying to set your internal clock that
and
way.
Apparently you can do it even if the sun's not out there.
Yeah, you got overhead lighting, turn on your bathroom or whatever and just stare right at it.
I don't know if you listened to the last segment, but Colin Padalecki was here from Surfaces. That band is blowing up, and they did the entrance song. It was cool to talk to him, man. Good Aggie right there.
I did not listen. I've been on the phone doing, baseball recruiting is started for the juniors and still the seniors in high school. So me with my title as director of high school operations in College Station area for 12, I've been on the phone this morning with college baseball coaches about some of our kids. So I really enjoyed doing that too.
Yeah. I mean, so I guess let's start things off with
my life is recruiting right now.
I don't want to start with the negative, but the loss, I know that there's a long season, but the loss against Miami, if we're going to bring some positives from a recruiting standpoint offensively, can we point at that or is
Sure. I mean, it's going into the year, the biggest questions were on the offense and what were you going to do and how was it going to look and what was the production going to be? And in 2 games, you've scored 85 points, averaging 42.5 a game. So it seems like, at least on the surface right now, the offensive side you can really sell. And talking to some sources this morning and late last night, it sounds like Cam Coleman still all in. Like he loves what the offense is doing. He loves the numbers that Evan Stewart and Noah Thomas are putting up. Seems like Draylon Miller still all good. So there's some positives there just in the feedback that I've gotten this week. But, you go back to my article that I wrote yesterday, and we've talked about it on this show ad nauseum. We've written it, but I wanted to put it in a long form. Like, they have done a fantastic job of selling the sizzle of a Texas A&M game day experience, of a Texas A&M education, of a Texas A&M student-athlete experience over the course of your time in College Station. They have got really talented people in the recruiting office right now. They've got the coaches are outstanding at selling what A&M has to offer, and the sizzle gets people through the door, but the steak gets them to stay.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the kind of, if you haven't read my article, I thought, I'm not a very talented writer. I'm certainly, that's not what I'm best at, but I do like to try to give unique perspectives, and I critique myself. I feel like I'm really good at self-performance appraisals. I thought what I wrote yesterday was kind of on point, and it was one of my better jobs of staying focused on a point over the course of a whole article. But that was my point yesterday, was like, look, man, like, they've got all this stuff to sell, and they're great at doing it. They've been awesome at doing it. Look at the classes since Jimbo's been here, and look how all these turning points have been positive for the recruiting. And you go back to even the loss to Clemson in year 1 and what that did, the 7 overtime win over LSU and what that did for recruiting, the atmospheres at Alabama and Auburn in 2021, what that did for recruiting. There's been some key turning points, and they've all been positives so far for A&M. But I think the benefit of the doubt is going to start wearing off if the results don't start happening this year. But again, this is a huge turning point, and it's not one game. You know, it's not going to be an Auburn turning point. It's not going to be an Arkansas turning point. This is over the course of the next 3 months. It is a massive turning point on the recruiting side of things.
It's the totality of the season, which brings me to some of the names that we've heard linked to A&M for a while. Xavier Atkins, what's the latest there?
Yeah, there was a lot of thought that he was going to announce a commitment yesterday on his birthday. Did not happen. That one has been kind of tough to pin down on what direction it's heading since the pool party, where when he came to College Station for the pool party at the end of the summer or at the end of July, we felt like A&M had a real strong hold of things. And I don't know that A&M's standing has changed. I think what may have changed is just Xavier's timeline and when all this was going to happen. Like, I can remember after the pool party, like trying to, okay, when do I need to get down to Summer Creek? Because this could happen in the next couple of weeks. And then, you know, it started coming out that he may wait till September and his birthday. Well, his birthday came and went, and he still hasn't committed anywhere. I don't think anything has changed in terms of A&M standing based off everything I've been able to gather out of Houston. I just think maybe Summer Creek's off to a 3-0 start and a really impressive 3-0 start. He is a new player. You moved from Louisiana to Houston. And so I think just maybe the season has overtaken kind of his thought processes right now, and it's his main priority, and that's what he's focusing on. LSU, I don't know how you would call his commitment or lack thereof to LSU. He made one. He hasn't publicly said that he is not committed to LSU, but there are a lot of people that do not believe he's committed to LSU anymore. Now, I think they are coming back into the picture. I think Arkansas and Utah are also still right there, but A&M, man, it's so hard to kind of pin down for over the last month and a half, but I would think that A&M would still have as strong or more of as strong or in the lead for that. But it's just, it's kind of gone quiet, and we're not taking stabs in the dark. We have a pretty good read on it. We just don't know how long this thing's going to last.
Yeah. The linebacker play from A&M, though, seems to be, you know, the fact that you've got Torian out there playing. I mean, those are all little signals that we have seen in years past that, like, hey, there is a path to playing here, even as a young player.
Sure, and I think that the coaches, again, have done a great job of selling that with not only Xavier, but, you know, Jordan Lockhart, Ty Anthony Smith, Tristan Jernigan. There's opportunities here, and opportunities are early. Even if it's special teams, you've seen Chance Johnson and Damian Sanford get on the field for special teams quite a bit. And it'll be interesting to see how they keep pushing for playing time and actual defensive snaps throughout the year. But, yeah, the relationships that they've built with this linebacker group have been fantastic and outstanding. Look, they got 3 committed. Is fourth just lanyap? Is it just the cherry on top? Like, do you need a fourth? And you're like, look, if we're going to take a 4th linebacker, we've been recruiting this kid. We really want him. But if it doesn't fall our way, do we even go out and get another one? Or we do use that scholarship spot elsewhere? It'll be interesting to see if Adkins starts trending somewhere else. It'd be interesting to follow what that scholarship spot, you know, do they go elsewhere in the high school ranks? They hold it for a transfer portal guy later. Again, you got to look at the totality of the season, and it's hard to focus on just one recruitment right now when you feel like if they win, if they manage to churn out double-digit wins or close to it, I think all's fine. If it don't, then all these singular recruitments that we're talking about, they go from 1 or 2 to 10 or 12 and going, all right, what do they do with this spot? What do they do with that spot? So That's why I say it's not a singular turning point. It's over the next couple of months. It is a huge turning point.
Yep. Cohen Eccles, I know that you wanted to get into a little bit of how he looked this past weekend.
Thought he was awesome.
Yeah.
And it was an interesting game because Katie and Katie Tompkins were both coming off of losses, and you just don't see that very often. And Katie Tompkins scored first on their opening drive, I believe. And then Katie rattled off 41 in a row, and they were really efficient offensively. And I thought Cohen Eccles was awesome. And he played center. He also played a little bit of right tackle, but he's going to be a center at the next level, and I love his build and his frame for it. I love his mind for it. I thought he showed really quality leadership characteristics and getting guys to block the right way and making his calls. Like, he just had good body language and good energy with all that stuff. And then once the ball was snapped, I thought he played with great leverage, a willfulness to finish and put people in the dirt. And I think Katie ran for 175, 165 or something like that, and then threw for another 280. So they were really efficient offensively and scored 41 straight points. And I thought a big reason for that was how Cohen Eccles and those guys up front for them played. I told him after the game, I was like, man, that I thought really, really good, really good. And I'm interested to see what his season-long highlight tape is going to look like, because if it looks like that, and I don't care that he's a center prospect, I think he deserves a bump in the rankings because he was that dominant. And you just don't – I like guys that want to play center. To me, it's like catchers in baseball.
Right.
Like, you're not going to be a good catcher unless you really want to catch. You're not going to be a good center unless you really want to play center. And I think there's a high value in having a guy that is wired like that at that position, and I think Cohen is.
Yeah, I mean, and considering there's talks of maybe Bryce going to the NFL in the next year or so, this is a big one.
Yeah, you need a center. I think absolutely you need a center. I think a true center is something you need to take in every other class. Mm-hmm. You know, if you have a guy that is a Steve or Seth McKinney type of guy where they can play in there and it looks like they're going to be impact multi-year college players, NFL guys, I don't think you ever pass on a player like that. But every couple of years, I would be taking a center prospect for sure.
Draylon had a big weekend as well, right?
Yeah, against Nederland. So, yeah. But I tweeted something at halftime. I saw the score, and it was like 35-0. I was like, yeah, I bet Draylon Miller had a hand in this. But
three receptions, 145 yards, 2 touchdowns against Nederland. Yep.
Yeah. So what was it? What's that average? 3 for 145 is what? 40-something yards of reception. I can't do the math right here in my head, but it's like 40-something yards of reception. He had the 2 touchdown receptions.
78 and 51 yards.
78 and 51. And, the A&M commit list had a good week of production. But I thought, Draylon, when you have that kind of average and you score twice from the other side of midfield, I went ahead and gave him the nod for my Bronny's best of this week. And just nothing changes, man. Just such a good football player. It reminds me, he's a little bit like Jalen Preston, but like I think he's a better, more efficient route runner. I think he's better with the ball in the air. But after the catch, they remind me similar in high school that they're just so powerful. Draylon's a smoother runner than Jalen was coming out. But like it's like running back traits once they catch the ball. And Draylon's 6'1", probably 205 pounds right now.
Right.
And just a locomotive once he gets going, and a smooth runner. He runs past people, and it doesn't like he's running real hard. So he's a really unique skill set out there, and something that I think, the Deebo Samuel comparison is apt, because I think you can put him in the backfield at the next level to create matchups. But I also think, a lot of discussion has happened this week, last couple of weeks, about running backs and pass protection. Like, this is a kid that's not afraid to put his nose in there, and he's also sturdy enough and big enough to really make an impact if they need him to do that. Just a sensational football player.
Brian, how important is it, and it's not just this wide receiver group, but the defensive line, everywhere, having versatile types of guys. It's not just having 5 stars. It's different types of 5 stars. Guys that are quick around the edge. Guys that are...
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because I think that's one thing that I would like to see A&M go get is a edge rusher. And Jordan Lockhart, to his credit, he's done a fantastic job of that at St. John Bosco. I don't know if that was the spot they recruited him for, but that's where he's been playing and has been really good for them out there in California so far this year. But I would like to see them go get a Tyree Johnson type of player, where it could be a stand-up 6'2", 6'3", 215, 220 pounder that is go get the quarterback, and a Von Miller type. Harold Perkins was a lead at it. We'll see how LSU plays him the remainder of the year, but like DeMarcus Ware type of player, where it is off the edge, go get the quarterback, turn the corner. And I think that there is real value. And I think the more we watch football nowadays, I think we're finding a big value in that. There are a couple of guys in the state committed elsewhere that don't have A&M offers yet, that I would be really intrigued to see A&M go in there and make an offer to see if they can get them on the roster, because you're right. The roster is loaded with 5-star talent. So what do you need? do you really need an edge rusher? I think they need edge rushers. I think they needed some more speed. That's when they went and got Ernest Campbell. So like you're picking and choosing needs now. You know, I'm cooking this pot of gumbo, and I've got all these awesome ingredients, but I'm missing a garlic shaver.
Right.
You know, I need a garlic, that kind of stuff. So.
Do they have like I don't even know, like when in their meetings, and I don't even know if you know, like, hey, we need multiple looks, or is it just give me as many 4 stars as we can get?
Well, there are certain players that I don't think you ever turn down regardless of
Right.
what your situation looks like. You know, if Cam Coleman wasn't committed to A&M and you had a full receiver room and then Cam Coleman calls you, you go, yeah,
Yep.
we're going to listen to that. But I also think that it does take some foresight by the coaching staff and recruiting staff. And, you know, when it comes down to offering kids, that is up to the coaches. But, you know, how it works is those recruiting staff guys, that's what they're doing. They're watching film every week. And so if something catches their attention or piques their interest in a kid, that goes to the coaches. And so there may be like, hey, coach, you know, this is a kid that can really run the edge and he plays with good leverage and good jump and good juice off the edge. We made it look at this kid, and that's kind of how it goes. And so they're combing through tape from across the country to try to fill needs, and then they kind of make suggestions to the coaching staff, and then it gets filtered out and offers go out through there. But yeah, it's circumstances are circumstantial. We've had a lot of that today. They're doing
every day.
They're doing a lot of construction around here. Yeah. I wonder if they can hear that on air. But it has been in the foyer. It has been.
It's you can hear it on the air, I think, too.
Well, hey, it's the price of expansion, right?
Yeah.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing. But yeah, it's when you have. I think they're all the coaches are always looking for the best players overall at their position, and then the coaches and recruiting staff, and then also like some real needs. Like Cohen Eccles,
Right.
We need a center. All right, well, let's go
He
find
fits
a guy.
that need,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
All right, let's hit a break. We'll come back. If you got questions for Bronny, you can do it at 979-693-1150, 979-693-1150. Right now, we're talking about the Young Alumni Weekend. Grab your friends and join Aggies from classes of 2011 to 2023 for the Boots and Bourbon Young Alumni Weekend. Join the association for a pregame party before the Aggies beat the hell out of Auburn on Saturday, September 23rd. Tickets are available for purchase at tx.ag/YAW. The party will feature Alvy's Boots, specialty cocktails with Boots beverages, and Barman Bourbon, Blackwater Draw Brewing Company, and DJ Bear. Enjoy the party and a chance to win one of several prizes, including 2 Kyle Field pregame sideline passes, a pair of Alvy boots, a Texas A&M noggin, and a Jimbo Fisher autographed mini helmet. After the party, sit with friends at the football game by purchasing tickets and reserve block for the Young Alumni Weekend. A link to the purchase and discounted football tickets will be provided in your tailgate ticket confirmation email. Don't miss out. Tickets are available for purchase at tx.ag/YAW. All right, we're back. TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. It is Recruiting Country presented by Caprock Health System. He's Ryan Broninger. I'm David Nuño. And at the Angry Elephant News and Social Center, we have Kennedy Cabin. I say it with so much, anger and conviction.
Passion, if you will.
Yeah, passion. That's a better way of phrasing it.
Yeah.
Hey, how you doing, Cavs?
I'm good. How
What'd
are
you
you
eat for breakfast?
I actually had a, not a kolache, but a meat and cheese cold something. I don't know what the actual word for it is.
Kloboznik.
Kloboznik.
Pardon? Sorry?
Kolaches are technically fruit-filled.
Yes.
If it's meat and cheese, it's called a kloboznik.
It uses kolache dough, but it is not
I've never known
kolache.
that.
Really?
But we all call it kolaches.
Yeah.
Everything. Yeah, it's kind of been generalized, but if you talk to people from like Hallettsville all the way up to West, and that little, all that.
It's called
If you go over to Czechoslovakia, okay.
Kloboznik.
Why do you put a Latin flair on everything?
That was more Russian, I thought. Kloboznik. My little baklava.
You go to Miami for 48 hours and you come back tan.
Did I come back tan?
Yeah.
The Cuban food was great. Poor Olin. Like every time we went.
Cuban food.
Hey, let's get some tostones. Let's get some ropa vieja. It was great.
I'm looking at going to the Caribbean for my honeymoon. I don't think that all Caribbean food is the same, though.
No,
but
not the same.
Do they do queso frito in Cuban
I'm
food?
sure they do,
That's
but
like
it's not a go-to.
Food. Yeah, it's in like a Dominican breakfast. Like they do like fried cheese. It's like a little square of fried cheese. It looks delicious.
Yeah, sounds pretty good. Pretty good. Let's continue with Kennedy. I know you got a couple text messages for the Bronster.
I sure do. Matt in San Antonio said, Bronny, do you think college football fans, and not just Aggies, overvalue recruiting rankings? And then he went into a little spill on it, but that's the base of the question.
Yes and no. There's clearly some correlation to recruiting well and winning national championships. You got to have good players to win at the high level week in and week out. But they're also, for every cycle, how many of those 5 stars you hit on, you miss on a couple. For all the 3 stars, and the pool of 3 stars is vastly larger than the 5 stars. There's obviously going to be a few of those that turn out to be highly impactful players. And so yes and no. But where the fans and recruits differ the most is their reaction to one loss. It's burn the whole thing down time on our message boards, and we haven't gotten that impression yet from any of the recruits, although the buzzards are circling in terms of other programs trying to come in.
Kennedy?
An unnamed texter from Texas said...
We'll call him Jim.
Who?
Nothing. Go ahead.
Okay. Said, I thought we recruited some pretty elite edge rushers in, I don't know how to say those names, Godzilla and Enai White.
Malik Silla and Enai White.
Okay, but they haven't played much. What's up with that?
Yeah, that's going to be that's a current roster question, and so you'd have to ask Billy about that. But I think those guys are both in the 6'5", 6'6" range that have typically played with their hand on the ground their whole life. I'm talking about a guy that's in the 6'1", 6'2", 6'3" range that is a stand-up, off the edge, turn the corner, good body control type of player, pass rush guy.
Right.
Similar to Vaughn, DeMarcus Ware, Harold Perkins, where they are elite off the snap and chasing the quarterback.
Cavs, I think we got another one.
Yeah, from another unnamed texter we have, Bronny, what is the current negative recruiting? Oh, where did it go? Yeah. Current negative recruiting pitch being used against us by other schools. Also, what is our coach's follow-up to counter? And he just replied and said, this is Michael from Leander, Texas.
What do you think the current negative recruiting is?
They can't get it done over there.
Pretty simple.
Yeah.
Until
you get it done, they can use that against you.
Sure. And, the pitch against that is, continue to believe in us. We have good players. We're going to get it right. The culture's better, all that kind of stuff. But again, you got to eventually. You can only sell the sizzle for so long. Steak's got to start tasting good.
Michael Hudson. It was expected he'd go to Tech. I know A&M was in the mix, but official this week.
It was, but that was interesting because I went to their game last Thursday and he was awesome. It was a great game. That Red Oak beat them in overtime. But talking to people in Belton, they thought like, hey, we think it's pretty open. Mike did such a good job of playing things close to the vest. It's clear that Tech was still the leader, but they thought things was open. I think, I do know that A&M has been in conversations with him over the last week, and there's potential for him to still visit over the course of the season in an official capacity. But he goes to Lubbock and watches Tech play. They lose, and it was pretty cool. He said, I was going to commit announcement if they had beaten Oregon. I was going to announce it right after the game, but kind of seeing everybody online, they were so down after the loss, I decided I wanted to pick up the spirits of the Texas Tech fan base. And he certainly did that. Sensational player, best player that Texas Tech's ever had committed to them. If Joey McGuire signs him, it'll be the number one player that Texas Tech has ever signed. I saw him last Thursday, and thought he is as good of a wide receiver prospect as I've ever covered.
Wow. I
mean, it is off the charts athleticism like Garrett Wilson. It is change of direction and route running like Evan Stewart. It is natural pass catching abilities like Jackson Smith and Jigba, like elite talent. If he's not on the field, like he's going to go in there way more highly regarded than Michael Crabtree ever was. Now we'll see if he is as productive. But in terms of a raw prospect, he's way better of a prospect than Crabtree was going in. If Joey McGuire is going to be successful there in Lubbock, I would think that it's going to be a lot of it's going to be due to the production of Micah Hudson while if he remains committed and if they sign him.
B. Glow's asking, has Ryan seen number 14 for Atascocita play Carday Mack? Is it Carday Mack?
He's a young running back. He's a 2026 who had a big game against Katy, and it's actually
14 carries, 167 yards, 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, and they beat Katy a couple weeks ago. It's interesting because they've also got a 2025 running back that's got 30 offers in Torrey Blaylock. So the Mack kid is starting to make a name for himself, and when you do that against a team like Katy, obviously you jump to the front of the headlines for a little bit. But so Atascocita is a team, and if they're going to have a year where they break through the North Shore Katy line in Houston, this could be it. Now they're going to have to play North Shore later in the season, and they are fantastically talented. And Coach Craig Stump, former A&M quarterback, has done a sensational job with the program. But I like the Mack kid a lot, and I think he's going to be a player. I need to see him with my own eyes, but just the stuff that I've seen on Twitter and on Huddle, I really like what I've seen.
Expect a good group here this weekend?
I do. I think there's going to be a lot of I think there's going to be some really quality 2025s here. I talked to Kamar and Morgan from Red Oak after their game against Lake Belton last week, and he said he was coming. I think where the headliners are going to start happening is obviously for Auburn. And Alabama. But I expect that the visitor list will probably be a little bit more extensive this week than it was for the opener against New Mexico, where they only had like 4 or 5 kids in.
Yeah. And just any final thoughts as we enter this little stretch right here, because we got this game, you've got SEC play, and they'll be judged on how that goes.
Sure. And every time that opposing programs can find chinks in the armor, they're going to take a chisel to it, and it's already happening. Gabriel Relaford and Dominic McKinley visited LSU last week. Florida's not going anywhere for Dalen Evans, Cam Coleman, Miles Davis, Draylon Miller, to Anthony Smith. All those programs that were shunned by them when they made their decisions in favor of A&M, all those programs are going to start circling back around. And so that was kind of what my comment was, like the buzzards are already circling. So they have to put a product out there that it's point blank, that simple.
Well, the buzzers can be heading towards those programs as well. If LSU drops one to Mississippi State, and Florida has had issues, like there's other buzzers.
But right now the biggest carcass laying on the ground is A&M's, right? Yeah. It's the easiest one to see, and everybody's poking at it.
Yep. Thank you, Bronny.
Yep.
Appreciate you, and appreciate Caprock Health for recruiting country. Right now we're talking Milliken Reserve, a farm-to-table community in College Station. They got homes, they got trails, they got wide open spaces, and they have a mission to build a healthy community around nature, and they've done that by trading lightly there on that land that Milliken Reserve is created on, creating a sanctuary for family, for nature, and for community, 2,600 acres of open space. You've got 30 miles of trails. You've got amazing homes out there. You should just go for a drive and check it out. And when you're there, look at the beautiful houses and the great nature vibe that you get out and enjoy it, because you don't have to live in Milliken Reserve to really enjoy Milliken Reserve. They got an extensive network of trails throughout a wooded landscape that includes these walking areas, equestrian paths, creeks, ponds, gathering areas, you name it. They're committed to maintaining and restoring that natural habitat, which means when you go, you'll see all the deer you want to see. You'll see songbirds songbirds, you'll see rabbits, you'll see turtles, you'll see it all out there. And homeowners there at Milliken Reserve sharing a legacy of conservation, which means generation after generation, you're coming back to that same pristine countryside place. Come out there and enjoy that natural setting for people to connect and come together. Hiking, biking, canoeing, kayaking, equestrian trails, evening yoga, summer camps, music festivals, farmer market tours, and farm tours. Learn more at millikenreserve.com. Again, that website is millikenreserve.com. When you hear that song, you know it's time for Peter Burns from the SEC Network here on TexAgs Radio. PB, not as happy as my other Mondays. Good morning, buddy. Or whatever today is, Wednesday.
Whatever the hell day it is, it doesn't matter. It's Robert O'Keefe Day. I'm in a better mood. I was thinking about that today. I'm like, I wonder if we're still going to go, the road goes on forever, but the party never ends. And then you switch it up with a little Corpus Christi Day, which I appreciated. I feel like we needed to change the weekly vibes after what the hell happened in Miami last weekend.
Well, not only what happened in Miami, what the heck is happening in the SEC and really the SEC West in particular? What is going on with these losses to the ACC and the Big 12, man?
So I got a couple theories on this, right? Because we've gotten our ass whipped. Like, there's no other, like, you can't make any other bones about it. There's no excuses, right? I mean, you have to dial in and go, all right, what's the root of the issue here? And, I've seen a lot of people say that it was kind of quarterback play, right? There's been some incredible quarterback play against the SEC. The SEC hasn't had great quarterback play like, Bryce Young or Joe Burrow or even Stetson Bennett. But I'd argue that it's not so much of lack of quarterback play as much as it is the secondaries have been exposed. I mean, like, what happened in that second half against the Aggies, it was just ridiculous. Like, I mean, guys getting beat left and right. Even Quinn Ewers having a whole hell of a lot of success passing the ball against Alabama in Tuscaloosa, of all places. I mean, LSU's secondary, a.k.a. DBU, got destroyed against Florida State. So I think part of it is the secondaries have fallen off a little bit, and I think part of that comes with the transfer portal, right? Guys aren't sitting there learning defensive systems for 3 years and then getting their opportunity to be a star. They want to play week one. So instead of being the third-string guy or second-string guy at A&M or LSU or Georgia, they're going to be a first string somewhere else, and I think that's creating more parity around college football.
Peter, your tweet hit below the belt, but it was factual, and I'm going to read it out loud because it caught a lot of people's attention. A&M has every single thing going for them regardless, facilities, recruiting, booster support, NIL, all of it. You can't go into a near half-empty stadium and lose by double digits. Yet, it happened, man. But you're spot on, and I know the fan base feels the exact same way.
Yeah, I mean, again, and I don't blame A&M football at this point. I don't blame Bobby Petrino. I don't blame Connor Wegman. I don't blame the secondary. I don't actually even blame, Ross Bjork or Jimbo Fisher. I blame myself. It's like one of those, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me 7 times, shame on me for continuing to believe that. And each and every year I'm sitting there at the pulpit, I'm like, man, like, A&M's getting ready to, like, tear the top off this thing, right? Because of all those factors I listed. And yet, for whatever reason, it just doesn't click. Like, there's certain things that look on paper like to be no-brainers. I go back and look at Scott Frost after the success that he had at Central Florida. Well, of course he's going to work at Nebraska, right? He's a former Nebraska guy. He's a great coach. He's going to get this style of offense rolling. And it just didn't work. And I'm not saying that's on the heels of 100% of Jimbo Fisher, but for whatever reason, when you have all of these things pointed in the same direction and yet you get the same result, that's just it's crazy. I just I don't see it being fixed anytime soon. It's just disheartening, to say the least. And I'm not even a born and raised Texas A&M fan. Well,
Peter, here's the thing that may make it worse or better. The West is totally winnable. It is out there. Alabama's not Alabama. I'm not sure if LSU is. Mississippi State, LSU this weekend could tell us a lot about both of those programs. Like, the West is certainly vulnerable, if to use a lack of a better word.
Yeah, but A&M is too good of all those things. Too good when it comes to recruiting, for facilities, health, fan base, media coverage, all of that. The building, the home field advantage. They're too good of a football program to determine if they can make it to the SEC championship on if everybody else is not that good this year. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, A&M should put themselves up with Ohio State. They should put themselves with Alabama, with Georgia, with even, Southern Cal that's making a run. Like, they have the pedigree. They're waiting to do that, and yet for whatever reason, it just doesn't click. It's like, it's just speaking a different language in college football. So, yeah, I mean, I guess that's a positive way of looking at it, but I have higher standards for what I think college football should be at Texas A&M, and it doesn't include, hey, you won it in a bad year. Like, I remember Florida going to the SEC championship game with some bad teams, I think with McElwain maybe as their head coach, right? And even Missouri doing that. Well, they did it because the East was down, and they were like, all right, well, we're the only ones still alive. It didn't matter. They ended up getting waxed. Like, I want A&M to be there because, holy hell, look at how good they are. And the fact that they don't even come close to that, it's just it punches me in my gut.
Couldn't say it any better. I guess my retort to that would be, if not now, when? wherever, right? Like, I guess that's more my point. Like, the opportunities are there. Go seize it. And that being said, they got the quarterback, Peter. They got the quarterback, and I think some of the defensive issues got to get fixed, but they do got the guy.
Yeah, I am impressed with Wegman and what he's been able to do. In fact, again, the only concern that I had that I was kind of punch drunk on early in the year against New Mexico was that, all right, are we going to be able to see some explosive plays? And I haven't seen that, right? I didn't see that in Miami the way that I really wanted it to break out. And it feels like you have the playmakers there, but again, what happens if the defense puts you in a hole? You're not able to dictate the pace, right? As soon as Miami gets up, well, all of a sudden they can play a little bit different, right? Like they can kind of sag back and not be scared of the big time plays. So, and I don't know. I don't know if that's the issue of not having, Mike Elko there, and defensively they were really good. I mean, I always thought one of the coolest things Jimbo Fisher did. I know a lot of people give Jimbo hell, but I thought one of the coolest things I've learned about Jimbo was when he hired Mike Elko and was asked why he hired Mike Elko, is he said, man, when I played and we tried to play, have some great offense against these Elko defenses, I can never figure them out. So I said, what's the best thing we can do? We're going to hire the guy. I thought that was brilliant by Jimbo. And I think DJ Durkin's a good defensive coordinator, but at some point, man, you have to show something, or else, the offense is going to be playing from behind. And it's not a recipe for success for any college football team.
Yeah, you're certainly right. So I'm going to go with the low-hanging fruit. Is Texas back and is Bama gone? Because I'm sure you've got a hot sports opinion when it comes to that.
I mean, Bama's not gone, and the dynasty's not going to be dead until people don't care that you beat Alabama, right? Like, that's when I know the Clemson dynasty, the short run they had is definitely dead, because when Duke beat them, it was like, all right, Duke beat Clemson, moving on, right? Like, this is, I mean, they're probably planning if the Longhorn Network was still around next year, they would do a 30 for 30 8-part series on the victory against Alabama in Tuscaloosa, right? It still means a lot to beat them. So I don't say it's dead, but I mean, Texas football is SEC ready. I mean, they proved that. And that's another reason why I'm frustrated with what happens in College Station right now, because had a full decade of an advantage in recruiting and all of this in this SEC footprint to get it right. And yet now you're going to feel like at some point, at maybe best case scenario, they're on equal footing when Texas comes into the conference. If not, Longhorns right now, the way that they currently look, have an upper hand on A&M. And that, I don't like that at all.
Let's move our attention to Dion. Man, so far it's like people like playing for him. He's winning. The offense looks great. He's already doing things that nobody expected him to do. People weren't even sure. Like, he's on the right path, man. As much as it pained me during the offseason, I didn't like some of it. He's getting it done.
Yeah, and I think it's just a changing of the guard and changing of the times, just how college football has always traditionally been one way. And then now, the transfer portal and name, image, and likeness and the hype. And, I even go back to the idea of, guys like you on air and TexAgs and opportunities of the Pat McAfee show and stuff like that. Like, we're seeing new media in new ways kind of cut through, and that's what Dion's doing right now. I mean, I can't imagine what recruiting must be like right now, because it's the hottest brand that's out there. And so, is it sustainable? I don't know. Nothing has shown me that it's going to continue this route of success, because it's so brand new. But, I mean, again, maybe the old way of college football is no longer that way. And Dion is ushering in a brand new system. There's going to be people that try to capture what Dion does, but you have to be unique in that voice, and Dion's captivated right now. Like, I have to watch Colorado football right now. It's the biggest must-watch in television right now, and I didn't think that was going to be the case going in.
All right, sets the scene and the tone for LSU, Mississippi State. We'll find out who Mississippi State really is. We might find out who LSU really is.
Yeah, and I still think LSU is good. Like, I feel better about LSU right now after 2 weeks of the season than if we had this conversation last year, right? Like, I felt like they still have more playmakers. The schemes are a little bit better. I'd like for them to use Harold Perkins a whole of a lot different, and I think they're going to do that. But State, to me, is an enigma, right? Like, they're getting rid of the air raid offense, and so now they just want to run the ball. And I think they've overcompensated to running the ball too much. So I think that they, that was just them trying to prove that they can run the ball, and I think they've done it, okay. I still like LSU in that game, especially at 11 a.m. kickoff. I think that's just a tough environment to deal with at night. It's much easier during the day. But I'll ask you this question as I'm headed out. Who has more pressure on them this weekend? Tennessee football to show that they're a competitor in the East, or Florida to show that they're not as bad as everybody thinks they are?
I've already made up my opinion on Florida, and so I'm going to say Tennessee because I want to see I have not been impressed with their wins, but they're stepping up a weight class right now. Like the Virginia win didn't really do anything for me, right? Like, so I think I'm going to learn a lot more about Tennessee. Florida's got a much longer way to really impress me, and I don't think there's any pressure on Napier for this game in particular.
See, but I think that's why you flip it on its head. I think that's why there's actually more pressure on Florida, because we've already assumed that they just stink, right? Like, all right, our mind is already made up. Like for us, it's a pressure-packed game if you can change the narrative around your program, right? And I think that's what you have to have. I mean, Tennessee hasn't won in Gainesville since 2003. They've only won twice in Gainesville in like 50 years. It's absolutely unbelievable. And yet I do think Tennessee wins this game, but man, there's a whole lot of pressure because if Billy Napier loses by 17 or they get boat raced at home, buddy, I mean, it'll feel the same way it probably felt in College Station after that beatdown by Miami.
That is Peter Burns. Our interview, of course, brought to you by Blue Delta Jeans. PB, I appreciate you as always, brother. Talk to you next week.
Hey, real quick, October the 6th, I have booked Robert O'Keefe on my show. So you got me fired up. So I reached out. So the GOAT is coming on SEC Network on SEC this morning. So October the 6th, I hope a bunch of Texas A&M fans watch me pepper him questions about the Front Porch Song and Lyle Lovett, a Pound Bass, and all of that.
Oh, I can't wait, brother. Thanks so much for the update, and we'll be watching, all right? Later, bro. Peter Burns there, brought to you by Blue Delta Jeans. When we come back on TexAgs Radio, open segment, we'll have some text messages to get into and just some closing thoughts here on the program. But right now we are talking Heritage Films. That is Chance McClain's company. YourHeritageFilm.com is the website. They make documentary films about you, your family, your dad, your uncle, your family business, your family ranch. It's a cool thing to do because, like when I'm watching documentaries, I'm all in, right? Especially when they're done right, when they're done like Netflix style. Well, that's what Chance does, but he does it for just like normal people. By normal people, you, your neighbor, and telling your family story, like how you got, how you built your empire, how you built your family, like where you guys moved from. Some of the stories that like the next generation isn't really going to know the finer details of it. You get to say it on video, and that's captured for the generations after. We did one with my dad. It was a success thanks to Chance and just his amazing crew. Then we did a Year Flicks for my daughter Annalise. That's a different product, kind of like the same mold. It's about 20-minute video as opposed to the 2-hour movie. And these 20-minute videos are more Q&A, like benchmark videos where you get to know your kid from a different lighthearted questions that are just awesome, where they get to talk and just have some fun on camera. The website is YourHeritageFilm.com. YourHeritageFilm.com, 713-893-8341, 713-893-8341. Kevin, I hope you changed the headphones.
I did.
All right. Just making sure. It's TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. We go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. The reason I said that is nobody wants to share people's, like, I ain't wearing Olin's headphones.
No.
It's not going to happen ever.
It's just, who wants to mix earwax?
Well, no.
Not me.
No, not me either. Hey, so
Not me.
tailgate opportunities this weekend here at TexAgs. Yay.
Yay. Yeah, we do. We have another tailgate. We had a good amount of people out at the first one against New Mexico. I know last week was a little bit of a downer. Last weekend was a little bit of a downer, but we have another one this weekend. We have Smoke Daddy's Barbecue coming to serve some delicious food. We have free drinks. Everything that you need is going to be right here at 308 George Bush Drive. Y'all come by, hang out with us.
What time does the party start?
The party is starting at noon, so 3 hours prior to kickoff, and we are ending at 2:30 p.m., 30 minutes prior to, so you can walk across George Bush Drive and head on to Kyle Field.
Well, excellent info there. Let's try to get a text message in here in the closing minutes if we can.
Well, Roger in Rosehill, which I thought was interesting, he said, remember 88 and thanks for the show. So I looked up what happened in 1988 Texas A&M.
I like the way you operate, doing the research, Kennedy.
I did the research, and I lost it, but they fell to like 3 really like whatever teams. But then they went 6 for 7 in their wins after those 3 losses. So I think Roger and Rosehill is trying to tell us to be optimistic.
Here's my thing. I'm sometimes optimistic. Sometimes I'm pessimistic. Right now I'm not feeling too good about things because I think we've waited long enough to be the kind of program that we signed up for 6 years ago. Still waiting for it. We knocked on the door. It felt like we were there. And then it's just kind of been one thing after another since then. All right, that's going to do it for TexAgs Radio here on a Wednesday. Tomorrow on the program, Stephen McGee, Ryan Swope, Aaron Torres, The Fan Show, and, of course, Olin Buchanan. That's going to do it for TexAgs. Thanks so much to Nick, and we got Sean and Emily, Kevin, you name it. We'll see you mañana.